Any moment. Here we go. We are live.
We're live. Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is our little soiree. You know who you are. You know who we are. Welcome once again. This is show number 84, and it appears that my computer video camera is as blurry as can be. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my camera. Hi, Amy. How you been?
Well, wishing we were doing shows. No, I'm really glad to be back.
Life interrupted.
It does that from time to time.
So before we get started, I want to say a few words about Bart. We have not heard much from him on Skype. We've had hardly any contact. We hope that he is okay. So Bart will not be with us. And I know that we just put out our promo the other day saying that Global Agenda would be with us, but as life would have it, he had to drop out at the last moment due to some family obligations. Hey, I see Gandalf is in there. Gandalf, do you want me to drop you a link? We are open chat tonight. If anybody wants to come in and hang out, anybody wants to contribute to the conversation, let us know, and we'll find a way to get you the link. I am going to go ahead and let me see. I think I've got Gandalf right here. Maybe. Nope, it's the other. Where was that? So, let's see. I've got a couple of pages of notes here that I'm going to go over. There's Gandalf. I'm going to drop.
And Blue is saying he doesn't see the link.
Blublood, I left you the link on my promo video. You responded to Johnny's Supertramp. So your comment under Johnny's comment, I just left you the link there on that promo, the original upload, not the update, but the original promo video that we put up 2 days ago. So the link for you, Blue, should be over there.
I got it.
Hey, there he is.
Awesome. We got him.
How you doing, Jason?
Good, buddy.
Yeah.
Good, man. Good. We're just playing catch up these days.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, we started late. We got a late start, and I am a little bit less than fully prepared at the moment. What you been up to, bro?
Oh, I've actually just been nursing a back injury here for the last 3 months.
Oh, not fun.
Yeah, I wiped out on a hill at work there and hurt something in my lower back, and it's not healing. So just taking it easy and doing what the workers' comp people tell you to do.
So sorry to hear it's not going well on that. That sucks.
Oh, well. Every once in a while you get a kick in the arse and you got to deal with it, eh?
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so now that you're in here, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. We don't need that link out in public for too long. Gandalf, you've got a link over there. Just check the comments. Check your comment notifications. I left you a link on the same video, on the promo video, if you want to pop in and hang out with us for a little bit. Let's see. A couple things for me to get out of the way. I obviously just came off of 3 strikes, or actually 2 strikes on my channel. Was sitting on 2 strikes for a little while, as many of you already know. That's why you haven't seen or heard very much of me, except for a couple of uploads. So this week, the 13th, a couple days ago, my second strike came off my channel. And while I'm talking, I'm going to try and set up a screen share. I want to show you guys a couple of things. Amy, if you would highlight me for a moment. I am still unable to live stream. Let me see, where did I put everything? In this folder. So let me see. First, check this out. Here's my pink slip. So this video, David Hogg, the actual actor, I've told a few people about this, but I wanted to say this live so that everybody would know. I actually got a strike on this video 3 weeks after I fucking deleted it. So as all you guys know, the Parkland school shooting was around about 3 months ago. And while we were all putting up videos exposing what we could on that event, particularly the David Hogg, he was all the rage. Anthony 2B found a video clip of David Hogg acting in a movie that was produced by his school, because he was in the drama and journalist class of his school. So he was a drama and journalist student, and they produced a little movie, and all of their little school mates were actors in this movie. And so David Hogg had like a starring role, and David Hogg was even featured in the promo to the video, or to the movie. And Anthony 2B found that video, put up a video. I mirrored that video. I had it on my channel for about 4 or 5 hours, and I deleted it that night before I went to bed, because I knew that everybody was getting hit with David Hogg videos. And then about 2.5, 3 weeks later, I'm browsing around on YouTube, and I watch a video from Pockets of the Future, Paul Romano, and he put up a video and complained that YouTube gave him a community guideline strike for a video that he had deleted, he said 2.5 weeks ago. And I was like, what? And no shit, you guys, the very next day I got hit with a strike on this video, and I had deleted it, and it had been 3 freaking weeks since I deleted it.
Crazy.
That is insane.
You know what I
YouTube
just
is
did to my
bloody
channel?
insane.
A year ago, I had a video struck down, and it's music that I own, right? And I'm just playing along to it, call it a cover, and they struck it down. So I just noticed here a couple months ago, I had 35 cover videos, and about 80% of them, Google had added, or YouTube had added, copyright infringement info, and then advertising to buy the original song on Google Play.
Wow.
And I'm like, are you kidding? You can strike it down from my channel, but you're advertising to go buy the original song that I'm just playing along to that I already own. So I deleted every single one of my cover videos, even the ones that they hadn't put that information on yet.
Really?
Yeah. Just so that they can't strike me down anymore, because I would like to do some live streaming at some point too. Right? So
Well, check
now
this.
my channel is strictly my music only. It's just me. They can't strike any of it.
All right, look at this screenshot I grabbed just the other day here. This is my channel settings page, and over here on the right side, it says video strike, and it says deleted video. It doesn't even tell me what video it was, because they know full well this was a deleted video. They struck me for a video I had already freaking deleted.
Total
Yeah,
insanity.
it's bullshit when you can't even find the video anymore in anybody, you know.
Well, I mean, I fucking deleted it, and literally 3 weeks, man. I'm not kidding. It was 3 full weeks. I got a strike for a video that had been deleted and gone for off my channel. It was 3 weeks gone, and they still gave me a strike.
That's insane.
That is so fucked
Yeah,
up. If they could go and retroactively strike your videos, you know, if you read through their guidelines, it says, no, if you're not sure, don't upload it. Well, what if I upload it and then I change my mind and I go, that's not appropriate, I'll take it down. No, that's not good enough. You're still going to get a strike.
Yeah, we have to ask for permission first. But then why did they process it and let it go through if they're going to have a problem with it later?
This is to me one of the biggest head scratcher mysteries of the YouTube policy implementation. This is fucking insane. 3 weeks. This video had been taken down and deleted 3 weeks. Where's the cutoff? What if what if they decide to give me a strike for a video I posted last year that has been deleted for a year? Where's the cutoff?
Yeah, it's not in the guidelines.
So I mean,
Police.
yeah, we're all hanging on by a thread. The only reason that any of us are here is because they allow us to be here, and don't anybody forget that. So
Yeah, really.
this video here, it says expires on June 13th. This was my last strike to come off my channel, which came off 2 days ago. And let's see. Oh, here's a screenshot right before that. So I want to talk about this also. This first strike was with Ole Demigard. This was our interview with Ole Demigard, and Global Agenda came on and popped in with us, and Dominic came in and hung out with us. Ole had to leave a little bit early, and so we spent the rest of the show with Dominic and Mark. So here's the thing, everybody. Listen to this. This was my first strike, so this would have been maybe 3.5 months ago. We were all chatting in the comment section somewhere, and Amy helped me out. I don't remember where, whose video or what, but we were somebody was talking about who to trust, and Ole Demigard's name came up in the conversation, and Amy popped in the comment section under somebody's video.
Oh, yes. I don't remember where it was, though.
And Amy said something about, having a hard time being able to trust Ole Demigard. She didn't even say anything too harsh. She didn't call him a shill. She wasn't like that. You guys know her. She doesn't talk like that. And she did say something about questioning him because his background with his
father,
his family, his involvement with Operation Gladio, and
right.
So she mentioned a couple of those, and then literally, how long was it, Amy? An hour or 2 hours? Ole Demigard fucking shows up in the comment section and replies to you, and he says, "What? You guys are questioning me now?"
Yep.
It was like immediate. And so that happened, and no shit, you guys, 3 hours later, 3 fucking hours later, I got a strike for this video, our Ole Demigard interview, Vegas and Beyond. Within 3 hours of Amy and Ole having it out in the comment section, 3 hours later, I get a strike on this video. Now, what do you say to that?
Not hard to tell who did that.
I wouldn't say that we had it out. We did come to an amenable arrangement or whatever at the end. I just said, "Hey, I don't trust anybody." Period.
Yeah, well,
I question everyone. He said, "Fair enough," and we went on from there.
Oh, you did continue talking to him? I didn't know that.
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit. There were a couple of back and forths, and that was it. I wish I could remember where it was. I really do.
Well, I found it surprising that, first of all, that Ole, being who he is, I was surprised at how quickly he responded to you in the comments. That to me, that to me was a little bit of a eyebrow raising moment. I was like, really? You're over here and you're reading these comments, and it already that quick? And it's like, what are you doing, Ole? Do you spend all day on YouTube like the rest of us? I mean, I thought you were like. Okay, anyway, so that was surprising. And then, literally, no kidding, I'm not even making this shit up, man. 3 hours later, bang, I got a strike for that video. So what am I to make of that?
Yeah, that is
on the wall on who's got the power and who don't, right?
So, here's my other screen share. Check this out. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was, let's see, video removed for inappropriate content, the Vegas and Beyond with Ole Demigard. When I was on this page on my channel, I tried to download the report. I tried to click edit, tried to click analytics. None of these buttons worked. And let me see, I had another screen share I wanted to show in relation. No appeal. Oh, that was this one here. The David Hogg video where they struck me after 3 weeks. You see on the first one, on strike number 1, it says appeal this decision. Strike number 2, there's no appeal. There's no appeal at all on this. And then I've got, where did it go now? I wonder if it accidentally got dropped into a different folder. Anyway, I've got a screenshot of my other YouTube settings page where it shows that all the strikes are gone off my channel, and yet my live stream ability is still disabled, and I can't figure out why on that one. I wonder where it went. Don't think. Let me just make sure it didn't go into this folder. Pay payment umbrella.
Yeah, things are getting strange, eh?
I can't find that other screenshot. I don't know where it got saved. So Blue, you took down all of your jam videos, all of your cover, all your cover songs. Here it is. I found it.
Anything that I'd done a cover to, I took them all down. There was only about 7 or 8 left that didn't have that copyright info added to them. And I'm like, some of them are, you can't even barely make out the band, and because like I'm just recording it with a phone, right? So they're not professional or anything. But yeah, they somehow picked out the song perfectly and put the copyright info on it. I mean, that's just me playing along to it in my room. Right?
Well, I will tell you this: when you're doing your cover songs, you do a pretty good job as far as your sound and your tone of your guitar matches the music, and you do a good job keeping up with the songs. So I would imagine it's not hard for their algorithm to pick out the song. But if they give you a copyright notice, the yellow flag, that's not a strike. That doesn't hurt your channel. They're just telling you that we detected copyright material.
Yeah, I know, and I agree with that. But the reason why I took them down, I said, no way are you going to advertise to sell that song on my channel.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm not going to give you the chance to put it on the rest of the videos. I took them all down. Screw them.
So check this out. Here's my screenshot of my settings page. And as you can see, copyright is green. My community guideline status is all green and good to go. But look, my live streaming is disabled.
Weird. That is very weird.
And I checked it, this afternoon, and it's still disabled. So the strike came off 2 days ago, and my live stream is still disabled. So I don't know what kind of fucking rules YouTube is playing by. They got their own.
Yeah, they sure do.
There's just no way to know what they're up to and what is okay and what's not okay.
It kind of blew me away when I when you told me that about yours, because when my second strike finally fell off, immediately once the green line was there, I had the live streaming available. So I have no idea what's up. I just know that I expect no unethical behavior towards me. Period.
So, let's see. A lot of things have happened, obviously, lately since we have been gone, you guys.
Yep.
I'm going to cover a little bit about net neutrality. Lababs or somebody was asking me to cover a little bit of that, so I've got some info on the net neutrality thing that is happening. Not a whole lot, but some. I don't know about much about what's happening in Europe with the EU and their decision. I'm hearing through the grapevine that they're going to disallow memes, any kind of copyright. They're cracking down hard in Europe over like copyright material, and so they're actually going after memes. Believe it or not, you guys heard about it?
No, but wow. Sandra is giving some information about robot bees. Autonomous robot bees are patented by Walmart.
Patented by Walmart?
Yeah, that's what this article says. Let me drop that link. Sandra already dropped the link in the chat, but I'll drop it over here in our doo-hoppy thingy.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a moment. Since I've already got the screen share, let's cover this real quick.
Okay.
You guys know what's going on in Tucson, right?
Actually, to be very honest, I heard about it and thought, oh, another PSYOP, whatever. So, no, I really don't. I didn't even look into it because I knew what I'd find.
Jason, you know what's going on in Tucson?
Oh, I've seen so many videos this week. I can't remember what one it is.
Yeah, really? There's so many. All Rookerike.
Yeah.
Oh, Rooker-Reich.
Yes.
This
Was it
guy,
about North Korea?
Yeah.
this guy, Sawman Sawyer.
Oh yeah. Yes.
The Veterans on Patrol. There's like two different organizations, two different veteran organizations, and they kind of got connected, and then this guy Sawyer decided to distance himself from the other group. And I can't, Veterans for Children, Veterans Rescuing Children, or something like that was the other group name. Canada 3 was like Johnny on the spot, man. He called this out and has been calling them out daily ever since. There's two things I want to show you. I'll tell you what, let me just go ahead and open up this article.
This is the one where the child skull was found by the border or something, right? Border Patrol?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I heard something about that.
Sounds stinky.
Yes. Yes. This was just such a giant pile of shit.
Yeah.
And China 3 has been doing a great job calling these guys out from the minute go.
Yeah, there's a bunch of channels pushing it as a real thing. Yes.
All right, my computer is running slow because we're running on the live stream and everything. I've got too much going on. Okay, so check this out. This is from Big League Politics, okay? Not exactly what you'd call mainstream media. And this seems to be the only people really covering this that I know of. And as soon as I can get this fucking, get out of here, vote now. How about no? It's not even going to give me the opportunity to get rid of that. Really? You're going to stay there the whole time? Updated child skull found look at how it reads. I have to be careful. Let me scroll down so you can see this. Come on. Vote now.
What is that vote now thing? How annoying.
I know. It won't even give me a little X to make it go away. Maybe that's what this X. Thank you. Okay. Child's skull found at alleged sex trafficking bunker area in Tucson. No, not found at the alleged trafficking area. It was found 20 fucking miles away.
Absolutely ridiculous, man.
Gandalf.
Hey, Gandalf.
I'm going by.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. I don't even know what to think about this whole child trafficking thing going on now. I think it's like the new Pizzagate or it's the new QAnon, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another of their yada yadas. And there may be some foundation of truth in there somewhere, possibly.
It was a homeless camp, okay? And more likely it was a transient camp because it's down there in the Tucson area, which is near the Mexican border. This is where illegals cross over and they have to make their way up into America. And there are all kind of stopping points, and they know where the stopping points are. They tell each other, it's like, yeah, we stopped here, we went over there. So this was at the abandoned concrete factory, the CMEX site. It says here, Lewis Arthur and Veterans on Patrol have just located a child's skull in Tucson near the site. How about 20 miles? Near the site of the underground bunker found last week, which contains items associated with child sex trafficking. All right, stop right there. Items associated with child sex trafficking. Like what items?
Yeah, really? A teddy bear?
Yeah, they found a child's toy. Oh my God, children were here.
That must mean they're trafficking them.
Yeah, what items associated? It's like, you know, if the cops wanted to come in and break into my house right now, they could nail me for anything they wanted. They could say items associated with terrorist bomb material.
Yeah, they
because
could.
They found bleach under my counter and you know, some other chemical in my basement. Says, oh, if you mix these two, you have an explosive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody has these items, and they could nab you and pin anything they want on you. So when they say shit like contains items associated with child sex trafficking, and of course, there's no mention of any of the items. Could be anything.
No.
Well, isn't there a rape tree or something like that there?
Yes, and I'm going to get to that rape tree. After waiting over 2 hours for law enforcement to show up, 5 sheriff cars arrived on the scene and said they were given the wrong coordinates and had tried to return Lewis Arthur's phone call, but was not able to reach him. Let's see. Weren't you out there with 5 or 6 of your buddies, and you're going to tell me that not one of you guys? And by the way, what do you mean coordinates? Didn't you give them the address? You say, hey, we're at the CMEX plant.
Yeah, really.
On 8, whatever, road on Highway 95 or whatever. What do you mean coordinates?
That's military talk.
It says a map posted to the veterans page, and yeah, they're veterans, so it could be military talk. A map posted to the veterans page shows that the skull was found up the road on the side of the highway from what they claim is the site of the bunker that they previously found, which some reports say was demolished by black vans. Okay, I haven't even heard anything about any black vans.
Oh, this is getting sillier
by any
and
estimate,
sillier.
the skull was found well within the borders of what constitutes the suspected child trafficking area. Well within, oh really, is that how you're going to frame this? Well within the borders. It was 20 fucking miles away. We'll continue to provide updates, blah, blah, blah. Quote, Border Patrol, here's what the guy said. Arthur, this guy, Lewis Arthur, he said, quote, Border Patrol doesn't want to touch this body. Okay, stop right there. That's not their fucking job?
Yeah, really?
Why would you call Border Patrol if you found a dead body? You call the police, they call the coroner, they call investigators. Border Patrol has nothing to do with this. Nothing. So Arthur stated during a live feed while awaiting for law enforcement to arrive, quote, yes, we do have a child's body found, and there are other bones scattered out in this area. Quote, you can see where it's decomposing. You can smell the death on it.
Right.
Right. That's
right.
such an emotional
That skull
line.
is like 100 years old.
Now look at these two pictures.
Pretty...
One picture on top. See this? The skull is standing upright. Now look at this picture right there with the shoe, with the boot. Does anybody see a problem here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Be different sizes.
Does anybody see a problem with these two pictures of the skull?
Several problems.
What? Come on, bring it up. Bring it out. Say it.
Oh. I mean, just going by the size of my boot, that skull looks like the size of a grapefruit, which would be smaller than a child's skull. And the other skull, gee, that thing looks like it's from a man from 100 years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Look at the teeth. Look at the teeth on it. The teeth are huge.
Actually, there are no teeth. That was the first thing I saw.
On
the top skull, that there are no teeth.
Oh.
Here, look at that. Let me zoom in. See that?
Oh, be his upper jaw. It looks like teeth, kind of, until you get close.
Yeah, number one, there don't appear to be any teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what's wrong with this picture, guys? Come on.
Well,
a little hard.
Look at this picture and look at the other picture.
Well, I'm looking at it and thinking it could be the same skull if it was turned on its side, not the side that seems to have all the death oozing off of it. The other side, it could be turned over on that other side that looks rather bleached out without too much of that.
Come on, put your thinking caps on, you guys.
Who wears boots with their pant legs up like that?
Who cares?
Now, how do we even know this isn't like a skull from an Indian tribe or something like that?
No,
Right.
we have no clues.
That's right. We have no idea.
Oh, one thing I just noticed, the straw underneath the big looking skull is oriented differently than the straw on the small one by the boot.
Yeah, the one by the boot is turned on its side.
Yeah, and look at the straw in
what's-
front of it is pointed away from the boot, as where the other picture there's straw right underneath it, and the other picture doesn't have any straw underneath.
Right, keep going. You're on the right track, Blue.
It's hard for me to see it though. I'm looking at it.
You're on the right track. What's wrong with this picture, guys?
Well, like I said, many things. I'm starting to pick them out,
Well,
but it's hard for me to see.
Two words. You can sum it up in 2 words, and it's a legal term. That's the only clue I'm going to give you.
Misdirection?
2 words, legal term. Come on, Gandalf, help us out.
Tampered evidence.
Thank you.
Ah, okay. I can see, yeah, because it looks like maybe the skull had sat up behind where he's
Yes,
where
it's
he's
tampered
standing,
evidence.
and it's rolled downhill. Yep.
Yes, this is tampering with evidence. Thank you.
Well, the guy's kicking around the skull trying to get different camera angles of the thing.
I don't care. He's not a fucking investigator.
Yeah, he thinks he's CSI or something like that.
This is called tampering with evidence. The police are going to want to know exactly where that skull was, what direction it was facing, what was it sitting on top of, exactly where did you find it, what position, what orientation. That's what an investigator wants to know. And now they don't know because of this guy's kicking the fucking skull around like a soccer ball.
The tooth community.
Yeah,
Laz said that. Miguel's garden and bonsai, I should say.
This is a bunch of skullduggery.
Skullduggery.
Skull unduggery.
Yeah. Arthur told his crew to continue calling 911. Quote, get the sheriff's department or someone that's going to come and take over the scene. We have a spot that we need to get to fast that we believe is tied to this, and we don't trust them at all at this point. Stop right there. I already see 3 things wrong with that statement. 2 things at least. Number 1, get the sheriff's department, and we don't trust them at all.
Yeah, really.
Get the sheriff's department to take over the scene. You know those guys we don't trust? Get them out here quick.
Reminds me of the movies when the CIA shows up, and then the FBI shows up, and then the sheriffs show up, and nobody can decide whose scene it is.
So
it's like Super Troopers where they argue over the body.
Yeah.
So the next sentence right here, it says, we have to get to the next spot fast that we believe is tied to this. What's wrong with that statement?
Send some more.
You might ask.
Simple. I mean, I guess
I'm trying to bring weren't they trying to get people to come down there and join them?
Yes, they were.
Oh my god.
Yes, they did.
It's like
they did put out an appeal for people to come down there and citizen investigate and whatever. So what's wrong with this next statement here, guys? We have a spot we need to get to fast that we believe is tied to this.
Well, what's more important than the kid's skull that they apparently found? What are they going to find at this other scene?
Well, I'm not sure. Actually, that statement may have been made in relation to the campsite before they found the skull. Okay, so this particular statement may or may not have been made before or after they found the skull. But to me, that's irrelevant. What's wrong with this statement?
Yeah.
We have a spot that we need to get to fast. Who the fuck are these guys?
Yeah, this is bizarre.
Yeah.
Man.
It's like, what do you mean you have a spot you need to get to fast? Why? First of all, why do you not have your friends? You got 4 or 5 or 6 of your ex-military buddies. You guys are all ex-SEALs or whatever. Why didn't you split the group up? Why don't you get somebody over there now? Second of all, why don't you tell the fucking authorities about this other super hot spot you got? Who the fuck are you? Why do you have to be Johnny on the spot before any police or investigators get there?
Yeah, it's a totally
If
makes no
you
sense
know of another
whatsoever.
And if you know of another spot and you're not telling the authorities, now there's another phrase, my friends. That's another legal term. It's called withholding evidence.
This is absolutely ridiculous. you really got to wonder, like, who the hell are these people? I've never heard of the guy before. The other day when he came out with his rape, with the whole rape tree thing and all the other garbage associated with it.
Oh man, that stuff they are trying to
It
sell
sounds
us
like
is
trying to do
real.
another Oregon standoff.
Yeah, that's exactly what this reminds me of. Or the Bundy.
Get a bunch of
Yeah.
suckers in there and ID them and label them.
Yeah, aren't these guys like secretly? They're like clandestine, like hiding from the border patrol right now somewhere in the desert.
Probably.
I don't know. These guys, who? The Veterans on Patrol guys?
Yeah, supposedly they're like hiding somewhere, like they've got a camp set up and they're hiding from the border patrol somewhere, and they're getting a drone to deliver them stuff or something like that.
But these guys call themselves militia, right?
Sure,
Militia?
sure.
Yeah, and they're like getting people to come out there, and then they meet them somewhere, and then they take them out into the desert where they have their encampment, apparently.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, this is absolutely whacked out, man.
There are no militias that aren't infiltrated in the U.S. or Canada or any other country for that matter. So
That's right.
Well, up here in Canada, our RCMP used to have someone that was the leader of the white nationalist Northern League or something like that. The RCMP was the David Duke, like
yummy.
check this out. I was standing in my backyard the other night helping my neighbor fix his generator, and we noticed this gold Chevy Suburban drive through our alley for some reason, and the guy was wearing that gray SWAT camo special unit gear. And we're like, what is he doing here in our alley? And next thing you know, a minute later, you hear all these doors slamming in the apartment building beside me, and there's a 7-foot fence, and all of a sudden you seen these SWAT guys coming, guns drawn on this guy, and he flew over the fence right by my neighbor's yard, and he made it about 30 yards down the alleyway, and cars rolled in, and a bunch of guys pulled out, guys dressed up as SWAT and guys that aren't, and they took his ass down, beat him up good, and
Wow.
took him away. And one of the unmarked, regular clothes guys, I asked him, I said, what are you guys, drug enforcement or what? And he wouldn't tell me who they were.
Aren't you in Manitoba, bro?
No, I'm in Calgary.
Oh, Calgary. Okay, wow, that's pretty messed up, man.
Yeah, right behind my house. It was pretty freaky.
Wild.
Yeah, they wouldn't identify themselves.
Yeah,
Here's a
we
little
got secret police all over the place. I was up in
They're everywhere.
do you know where Bracebridge is?
You betcha. Been there many times.
Man, I was just hanging out with a bunch of buddies up in Bracebridge, like this was a few years ago, and this guy, like we were like I guess we were being kind of loud, and this young guy, he looked like he was maybe like 22, came and flashed us his CSIS badge, and he said to keep it down. Like, we got secret police on the streets here in Canada, man.
You know where my hometown is in Bancroft?
Oh yeah, man, I was there the other day, bro.
That's the population there for many years is 2,500. They raised it to 3,500 when they amalgamated all the little hamlets around town. That town used to be patrolled by 6 to 10 cops. Now they put a training center there. The Ontario government forced a training center into that town. There's now 60 cops in my hometown.
Holy crap.
My best friend just went back to bury his mother, and he said you could not go anywhere. You had 2 and 3 cop cars all over the place, following you all over the place.
You ever heard of a town?
Police state is here, my friend.
Wow. Like, you ever heard of a town called Uxbridge?
Yeah, my brother just moved from there not long ago.
Well, like, I'd always be working in Uxbridge, and there was this guy, right? And he would ride around town. Okay, you guys got to picture this. This guy had like long hair and a big beard. And this guy would ride around town with the end is nigh on his bike, and just a bicycle, right? And it would say like, the end is coming, repent now, this is the end of days, all over and this guy would put these signs up all around town. So we decided to follow this guy one night, and it was maybe about 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And this guy took his bike with the end is nigh, and he put it in the back of a truck, like a nice looking truck at a Walmart parking lot, and he drove off. And then we came to the same place the next day and we saw him do it again. So this guy kept putting his bike, like he would ride around, pretend he was a crazy homeless guy, and he would ride around all day putting up signs, and then he would take his bike and put it in the back of this truck. And everyone knew at this point that this guy was CSIS, right? CSIS is the Canadian Secret Intelligence Service.
Another Jesuit organization, yes.
Oh, and it was just so sketchy, man. Like, these guys are nuts. Like, it's the same thing that they did at the G20 protest a few years ago. They all, like, picture like the rattiest looking people you can imagine. They all pulled out like, you think these guys are part of the G20 protest, but these guys all on a dime, they all pulled out billy clubs at the same time and grabbed like 3 people and took them behind the police line.
Jeez.
Yeah, our country's actually worse off than the U.S. We're much less people to control, right?
Sounds like you guys are having problems.
God.
Oh,
Everybody,
this country is so heavily policed now, it's not even funny. Everywhere you go.
That is just so wrong.
And what's funny is about our cops, if you see like a cop in the United States, he'll be in like some larger city or something like that, or any random town. Like, the cops don't wear, like, our cops here in Canada wear like full on decked out like body armor, like everywhere they go, like head to toe and like bulletproof shit. Like, it's crazy. And it's like they'll be in like a small town and they'll be decked out in like body armor.
What
dude, we have school systems in this country, school systems that have rocket launchers.
Oh my God.
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding, dude. I remember
that's at ROTC, right, Aaron?
No, this is
JOTC or whatever they call it.
No. This has to do with the Pentagon's 1033 program. Love those numbers, right?
Yeah.
The Pentagon's 1033 program, after the Iraq War came to mostly a close, because we're still there and we're still in Afghanistan. All this excess military surplus material, Humvees, Bearcats, or the armored vehicles, grenade launchers. I said rocket launcher. I meant grenade launcher. The Pentagon, the part of the 1033 program where they were gifting, giving away to municipalities, police departments, and even certain school systems, particularly LA County, if I'm not mistaken, they were giving all this heavy military equipment away, giving it away. And I remember reading articles years ago that I'm pretty sure it was the LA County school system that acquired a fucking grenade launcher.
Jeez.
Not even kidding.
That's crazy.
That is so wrong.
Yeah, and it's all stuff from the Afghan or the Iraq War.
You know, speaking of the Afghan and Iraq War, you guys are going to get a kick out of this. This came across the news ticker on my cable television this morning. Where did it go? Let me check my notes. Kentucky Attorney General is suing Walgreens, saying that the company has a role in the opioid epidemic.
What?
Yeah, what?
What the fuck?
The Kentucky Attorney General is suing Walgreens, saying that the company has a role in the opioid epidemic. Really? Really? Hey, Mr. Kentucky Attorney General, why don't you sue the U.S. fucking government? Why don't you sue the U.S. military who's protecting the poppy fields?
Yeah, really?
You want to know who's in charge and who's responsible for the opioid epidemic in this country? Go back in time and look at the the heroin and opioid epidemic that we had before the Iraq or Afghanistan war, and look at what we have after the Afghanistan war. And then look at the pictures of the U.S. soldiers protecting the poppy fields. You want to go after somebody, go after those people.
Well,
Speaking
yeah,
of,
the Taliban eradicated all opium production out of Afghanistan. And
not
then,
all of it.
then when the United States came in, they reinstituted all the growing operations that were just canceled by the Taliban. And
Yep.
it's the exact same thing that went on during, I think that movie's called Blow, where they end up taking heroin back in like body bags or something like that from the Vietnam War.
Yeah, that was during the Vietnam War. That was because Vietnam is also there are two places on this planet known as the Golden Triangle, where the opium grows naturally and very, very healthfully. During the Vietnam War, they were sending heroin back to the States inside the bodies of dead soldiers.
I wouldn't doubt if they just transport the stuff on Hercules transport planes now. You know what I mean? That the military operates. They probably don't even go to the extent that they had to back in the day. You know what I mean?
Want to hear something interesting?
Go for it.
I've been taking cabs for 3 weeks to my therapy, something that they're providing. And I've had 3 Afghan cab drivers. And I asked all 3 of them the same questions. What do they think actually happened on 9/11? Did they think planes were used? And do they think Muslims did it? And do they think bin Laden was ever in Afghanistan? And if not, where do you think he was? And they all said the same thing. 9/11 was bullshit. It was just a show. Bin Laden was never in Afghanistan. And the only reason why they went into Afghanistan was to take over the poppy. And they know that there was no planes used on 9/11, although it showed us on TV that there were.
Yes.
So there's 3 guys in Canada from Afghanistan that are awake
Nice.
to what was happening then.
I have a Muslim friend, female. She's engaged to my best friend, Eric. And I talk to her fairly frequently. She's full-blown Muslim. She was born in Jordan. She was married by arranged marriage. So she speaks Arabic fluently. English is her second language. So she knows what's going on. All her friends are Arabs and Muslims. And yeah, buddy, they fucking know full well. These people are awake. They know. They know it's bullshit.
I used to talk to this guy, and he's from Afghanistan. We ended up finding out in this town in Uxbridge why the CSIS agents were going around town. It was because there was such a large population of Afghans for some reason in this small town in Ontario. And I was talking to this one of them that we came over to my place and he brought pizza. And so I was smoking weed with the guy, and he told me, he just said, you know how we're sitting this close together? He's like, back in the 80s, I sat as far away as you are from me to Osama bin Laden. And I was like, oh, wow, really? And he's like, yeah, I was fighting with Osama bin Laden against the Soviets. And I'm like, okay. Like, so what do you think about what's going on? And he's just like, what they're planning on doing is they're planning on, after they're done with Afghanistan, they're going to go into Iraq. And he said, look on a map and you'll see what countries in between Iraq and Afghanistan. And he's like, they want to take out Iran. That's their main target. And this was like in 2002 or something like that. I'm not even sure, but it was like right after 9/11. So yeah. Afghans are pretty woke to what's going on.
Yeah, I had heard that they were working on Iran for a long time. I mean, I heard that long ago that was their final target.
Well, we know from General Wesley Clark's own statements what their plans were. And yeah, the Muslim world, they are not a bunch of dumb dirt farmers. These people are pretty woke.
Yes, they are.
And they're great people, man. Every one of them that I've met so far has been really nice and upstanding and just genuine good people.
Yep. Me too.
Which is really crazy how they can be, considering Canada and the United States had been occupying their country for it's been almost 2 decades now. what's so insane about the whole Afghan war is you could have been born before 9/11 happened,
Oh yeah,
and you could be now fighting in Afghanistan.
And not even know why.
Yeah, and just think that it's because the terrorists blew up the World Trade Centers or whatever the hell you were brought up to believe, right?
Yeah, that's pretty insane, bro. It's almost 20 years ago. And so, yeah, you're talking about now we have fighting age men who were born and had no idea what was happening about the 9/11 or the immediate post 9/11 aftermath. And now they're 20 years old almost. You know, they're carrying guns and they're fighting age men who have no idea. I mean, that's what we have in this country. These guys who join up in the military, they have no idea what they're fighting for.
Well, it's like when I think it's the process.
Very true.
Like it's the process of joining the army that seems to actually awake people. Like look at General Smedley Butler, two-time Medal of Honor winner. He would sound like a hippie or something like that. If you look at what he used to write about, like war is a racket,
Yeah.
and he would explain how he was basically money for capital interests in New York City, and how he would go in like mob enforcement and take out governments that weren't paying their protection money to Washington. And that's how he looked at things in the end.
You know, just the other day on that note, Gandalf, you made me think of an interview I had just a couple of days ago I listened to on Richie Allen, and I forget the guy's name, but he wrote a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
I watched that, yeah.
Who described exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
And I forget the guy's name, but if anybody's interested, it was just on Richie Allen interview just last week.
Yeah, I watched that actually. He's got a few good lectures actually where I think they only talk for like 30 minutes on the Richie Allen show. He's got like lectures where he goes on for like 2-3 hours about this kind of stuff.
All right, so let me move on. Let me get off of this article here. I just want to highlight two things. Number one, for those of you who like to play with numbers, look at here. Last week, the Tucson branch of the Veterans on Patrol found a mysterious tunnel near. Come on, near anybody?
Big league politics.
119.
119. Wait, what are you getting at?
Trump and 9/11 backwards.
It's a backwards.
Oh my God! Oh, I'm stupid.
Okay, now down here at the bottom it says the police showed up and arrested 2 members of the group for trespassing. Anybody see a problem with that statement? Why wouldn't they arrest the whole group?
2 members of the group got arrested.
So you were all there, and only 2 of you were arrested for trespassing. How
They
much
could have
sense
been the ones that failed to identify themselves.
Yeah, something about this seems rather sketchy. And look at the guy. The guy looks like he could be like a cop, or he's former, or he could be military or something.
Well, they're all former military.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, it's Veterans on Patrol, and the other group is called Veterans Rescuing Children or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's just a giant pile of shit. The whole fucking story is bogus, complete and utter dog shit.
Well,
Okay.
it's like they push these things periodically, and it's like the new Q. Like, look at the Q channels. I got all into this Q bullshit, and I just got burned out because I couldn't deal with it. Like, I'm like in a whole process of really evaluating what the so-called truth movement really is, because it just seems like the majority of people are moronic. You know what I mean? Anyone who believes that there's some kind of this LARP going on that started on 4chan is really a government insider trying to spread information. Like, I can't even believe that it left 4chan and it's gotten as big as it has. And now you got Jerome Corsi, someone who was military intelligence, now pushing it and is supposed to be fucking like fighting for the little guy. Like, it's like mind-boggling, this shit, man.
Well, I never got into the QAnon. I kept my peripheral eye on it, as it were, but I never got into it. I never got absorbed into it. I just sort of sat as a spectator and watched that whole thing unfold. And probably, like Amy, I was quick to not believe it from the beginning. It didn't seem to make sense. And to be honest, it was all happening at a time, now this is months ago, when I was personally going through a little bit of a difficult time with this, our little truth movement, our community. Just like you said, you're having a whole reevaluation period. So I can see, you're doing the same thing. This huge wave of disappointment came over me months ago. And it was right about the time that I had strikes on my channel. And that's when I told Amy, we need to take a break. I need to step back. And it was also, for me, it was springtime. And as a contractor, my work was picking up. And so I was like, you know what? I need a fucking break. So I was just so disappointed in so many channels that were promoting so much nonsense. And I should have listened to Conchi, man. I should have listened to Dominic. You guys know, conscientious objector. I should have listened to him, man. This guy, he's been around longer than me. He's more cynical than I am. He was telling me months and months before I was having my problems. He's like China to 3, man. He just sees the things that we all miss, and he's like, no, I don't know how many times I chatted with him on Skype, and I was like, damn, dude, I thought I was cynical. And there's just, it fucking piled up on me. So many of the people that I trusted turned out to be one of two things. And here's the kicker. You'll never know, right? You'll never know who's on the payroll or who's just a plain old dumbass.
True.
And we'll never fucking know the difference. We'll never know who's on the payroll. Like, we all know about Sidethorn, and we know about the 153 News, which, by the way, was on my notes. I want to bring this subject.
Yes.
Please do. I've been wanting to get into that myself.
Well, let's get into it.
Well, Roof, but keep going with what you were saying, man.
Yeah.
I was thinking of actually titling the show tonight, The End of the Division, or Division, Divide and Conquer, Destroyed, or something like that, because the division that I'm seeing among our own truth-seeking community people, I'm as woke as I am, I'm still amazed at how many more times they can divide us into more and more subgroups.
Yes.
It still amazes me that we can continue to be divided. Look, you guys remember when Flat Earth splashed on the scene about 5 years ago?
Yep.
Yep.
Now, the internet's been around for 25 years. And although it was slow and dial-up in the early days, I didn't see anything on Flat Earth. Zero, nothing.
Yep.
And then the technology improved, and everybody's getting, high-speed internet, and so now we can stream videos and watch without buffering and all that shit. So great. Now we're all digging in harder and digging deeper, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes Flat Earth. It's like, what the fuck? And since then, the Flat Earth has solidly divided this, quote, truth community of ours right down the fucking middle. Like right down the middle. And it's done it in a very spectacular, vitriolic way where we are literally hating each other.
Yep.
I don't hate anybody.
I know that you guys know what I'm talking about. You've all seen it in the comments where you're an idiot. It's flat. You're fucking stupid. You don't know how to do math.
Flat earthers are retarded.
Yes.
Right. Globe tard, flat tard.
Yeah.
The name calling and the vitriol in the comments is just off the hook.
Yes, it is.
We are successfully divided right down the damn middle.
I've always hated the term truth community. There is no truth community.
I know, Blue, but for lack of a better term, let's just go with that for now.
Yeah.
There's really, I don't know what else to call this group of people who are online, YouTube and on blogs and reading and lectures and whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Retards of truth. How about that?
See, the problem that I see with the whole so-called truth movement, if you want to call it that, is there's too many different sub-genres of it, and each of them basically hate each other. So you have like people that get into the flat earth, and you have people that get into let's say this Pizzagate stuff, right? And like I don't consider people that are into the whole, that got into the Pizzagate, into the QAnon shit, I don't even consider them actual people in the so-called truth movement, because these guys are just as moronic as CNN watchers. These people are following along with these talking head idiots like Alex Jones, and they're going, like, if you're watching fucking Alex Jones, you're not part of any awakened fucking group, you know what I mean? Like, the only real people that it, like, then there's the anti-war people, like all the people into the whole anti-Syria war stuff. Like, then there's real researchers that actually go after like what's going on in Syria, you know what I mean? Like what really happened on 9/11. Not talking about see that when the whole bullshit started, when people started coming into the so-called truth movement saying that that there were energy ray weapons directed from space that took out the World Trade Center complex. You know, you got, as much as I used to like them, Project Camelot, like it's a lot of just crazy bullshit, you know what I mean? There is no one truth movement. There's just millions of people that are interested in alternative information, is how I've come to the conclusion of it.
Lou, you want to jump on that one?
Sorry, I caught just missed the last bit he said there.
Well, basically, just there's so many different subgenre groups of people interested on into their one focus section of the so-called truth movement, that there isn't one real truth movement. It's just millions of people that are interested in all these alternative things. You know what I mean? Like Pizzagate. There's the whole Pizzagate crowd, and those people are, believe it or not, still going strong. And there's the flat earth people. Those people are all focused in on their one little flat earth thing. You know what I mean? And there's that bullshit about the trees, that all the mountains are fucking tree stumps. You know, there's just millions of people that are just focused in on different random shit. And there is no real truth movement. It's just discombobulated fucking chaos, you know?
Well, and then you've got it broken up into religious segments too. You got all the Christian truthers, and they're all calling each other out, and then there's people that just concentrate on Jews and Jesuits.
See, I'm glad you brought that up, Blue. But that's part of the problem that I've been having lately, is the Christian side of the truth movement. The most
attacking I've ever seen is on that part of it.
The most what?
Attacks is from them amongst each other.
Oh, did you know? Here's a fun fact. Did you know that there are 38,000 denominations of Christianity?
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
We could all make up our own, really.
Yeah.
Now let that sink in for a second. 38,000 denominations of Christianity. They can't even agree among themselves.
God.
As to how to interpret the Bible.
Oh, but it's been like that since
they don't know how to.
Well, because hang on. There's actually a website that has documented something like 450 solid contradictions in the Bible.
Oh, the Bible's so ridiculous.
Some people have calculated it out to over 60,000. But
they're all controlled by the Catholic Church, oddly enough.
Well, I suppose that depends on how you classify. If you want to say there's an inconsistency versus an outright contradiction. Like I'll give you an example of an inconsistency. In Jesus, and I don't want to get into a Bible tangent, but let me just run this over real quick. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus gets mad at a fig tree. And Jesus is leaving the town of Bethany, and he's hungry, and he approaches a fig tree that's barren. And there's no figs. And Jesus gets mad. He gets downright angry, and he curses the freaking fig tree. And he says, "You shall not bear fruit," or "You're barren," or something. And then in the book of Mark, in the book of Mark, the disciples, Mark writes that the fig tree withered right there in front of their face, right there in front of their eyes. And then in the book of Matthew, the same story is told, except the fig tree withers the next morning. They come back the next morning and the fig tree is withered. Is that a contradiction or is that an inconsistency?
It sounds
Well,
like it's just a parable for something else.
I will say that it could be counted if you're going for any errancy. If you're counting the errancies, that's one.
Well, once you study the origins and the history back then, it's not hard to see where it come from and who did it.
And you know what
Who
I never understood about that story is, okay, here's this guy who's all this love and peace and caring and so forth that we're told, and he goes into a snit fit over a fig tree. What?
Yeah. That's beside. Excellent. That's excellent that you brought that up, because that's actually another part of the story that needs to be examined, because we are talking about the Son of God. And in some denominations of Christianity, Christ is God. They're the same fucking thing. So let's imagine for a moment, this is Christ, the same guy who fed 5,000 people with two fish and 5 loaves of bread. Okay? Christ, the guy who fed 5,000 people with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, he can't make figs. He can't make a fig tree produce figs. And so instead, what does he do? He gets mad and he curses the tree to die. A tree.
Well, even at the very beginning, even at the very beginning of Christianity, now this is at the twilight of the Western Roman Empire, the people that came in and eventually sacked Rome, the Vandals, who escaped over the Mediterranean and took over North Africa, the area around what used to be Carthage, those people were known as the Arian Christians. Now, the Arian Christians simply believed that Jesus was both God and man, as in contradiction to the Catholics in Rome, or the early Catholics of the Western Roman Empire, that believed that he was neither, but that he was just pure God. So these ridiculous contradictions have existed, and there's been wars over it from the very beginning.
Well, Laz just mentioned in the chat that the stories in the Bible are metaphorical, not to be exact. Well, and I just left him a comment, and I'll just say it out loud, that a large portion of Christians are Bible literalists. And I spoke to one last week, almost 2 weeks ago. I met one face to face. I'm not going to say his name, but I met one 2 weeks ago, and I had a long conversation with him, and he's a Bible literalist. He thinks the Noah's flood story is real. The Exodus is real. These things are not real. In fact, if you do a tiny bit of scratching the surface and a little bit of research into religiosity and the historicity of the Exodus story, for example, just the Exodus story, you know, where Moses goes and frees the slaves, right?
Yeah.
If you just do a tiny little bit of research into that story, and you'll find that not even the Jewish archaeologists of today, the ones alive right now doing the digging, not only they themselves will admit to you face to face that the Exodus story did not fucking happen. It didn't happen.
None of it. Yeah, I don't think we can really believe any of these old stories that that the Jews were kept in captivity, all this random fucking shit. Like, does anyone actually believe any of these old, like, these stories are, some of them are going back 4,000 years, and everyone knows how, you used to play that game when you'd whisper something into someone's ear, and then they'd whisper it into someone else's ear, and then you see what it comes out as, like 5 to 6 people down, and it always changes. So who knows what the original story, who knows what it's even based off of. Noah's Ark was ripped off of a story that comes out of Samaria. from 7,000 years ago.
Gilgamesh.
It's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Epic of
it's right
Gilgamesh,
up there.
The Epic of Gilgamesh.
and Noah's name in the Sumerian story is Utnapishtim.
Oh God.
Most of all those characters, all those names, Solomon, Moses, Noah, David, they're all representation of Saturn. Dagon.
No.
Mithra.
Yes
Yeah,
and
a lot of
no.
them.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Sure.
Some are Saturn, some are the moon, and some are the sun, and some are Mars, and some are Venus.
Yes, true, yes. But most of the big ones, Moses is Saturn.
Moses is Mysis, as Moses is Mithras.
And Dagon.
Jesus is Dionysus. That's why Jesus turns water into wine. Dionysus is the god of wine.
Yep.
Right.
And the god of wine was divine because we're talking about the vine, the grapevine.
Mhm.
Dionysus is the god of wine, and that's why Jesus turns water into wine. That's why Jesus is divine. That's why the Eucharist, that's why you eat the body of Christ via a cracker, and that's why you drink the blood of Christ via wine.
Well, the
So,
whole
parables, allegories,
this thing is bizarre in itself, eh? You guys ever heard of now this might be a little tiny bit of a tangent, but you guys ever heard of the Jesus Christ conspiracy?
In what way? I've heard lots of them.
Yeah.
That Jesus Christ was actually the son of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra.
Oh yeah, I've heard that routine. I don't know whether it's true, but there seems to be evidence to suggest that maybe.
The biggest one I've heard is that it was Copernicus Piso, which was before the Flavian dynasty. That he was representing himself as Jesus.
I don't think Jesus Christ ever walked this earth.
No, that was
Quite
who
possibly he didn't.
In fact, you guys know the story of the crucifixion, right? When Pilate had Christ and he had the Jewish mob, he spoke to the crowd and he gave the crowd the option who to release, right? Do you want me to release this guy Jesus, or do you want me to release this guy Barabbas, who we have, captured and arrested for sedition, right? You guys know that story, right?
Yep.
Honestly,
Yep.
I don't.
Okay.
Yep.
Gandalf, you don't? Okay. Blue and Amy, you know this story. Most people know the story of Pilate, and he comes out to the crowd, and the crowd decides who to release and who to crucify, because Pilate's such a great guy, and maybe it's the Jewish holiday or something, and Pilate's going to appease the Jewish crowd, and he says, okay, I'm going to release one prisoner. Who's it going to be? And lets the crowd decide. And the crowd decides to release Barabbas. Right? You guys familiar with this story? Well, guess what? Does anybody know what Barabbas's first name was?
I forget.
Silence. Crickets. I hear crickets. Anybody know who Barabbas's first name? Guess what? You ready? Hold on to your hats. You ready? Barabbas's first name was Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What the hell? Oh.
No,
No, guys, I am not kidding you.
I don't
And
know.
Pilate could have been one of
I
Pilate
never
could have
heard
been one of
he
the
had a
Flavians.
first name.
So here's the story. You guys, I assume everybody has heard of the term
Then I was
scapegoat.
right. That's what I said. Jesus? Huh.
You guys heard of the phrase or the term scapegoat? Everybody has heard scapegoat.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Do you know where that comes from? It's an ancient Jewish or Semitic tradition where they would take two goats of like kind. In other words, they tried to get two goats that looked the same, roughly the same age, and and both in
In the
good
whole
health.
9 yard. Yep.
And then every single year they would do, this is a yearly tradition, they would take the sins of Jerusalem and place them onto one goat, and then they would send that goat out into the wilderness to either die of starvation, or sometimes they would drive it off of a cliff to die. And that was to atone for the sins of the Israelites. So they would place their sins of the whole group onto one goat, and they would allow it to escape. That's where we get the word scapegoat. And they would drive it out into the desert or over a cliff to die. And part of this tradition was that the two goats, one that they keep for slaughter and one that they allow to go out and die in the wilderness, carrying their sins, the two goats are supposed to be very much alike, as much as possible. So in the story of Jesus and Pilate, we have two Jesuses. We have two goats. One is sacrificed and one is not. This is the scapegoat.
Right.
Now, when it comes to Jesus, the concept of sacrificing a human versus sacrificing a goat is that the atonement of the blood is much more pure, has much more power, and therefore they don't have to do it every year. Somebody came up with the bright idea, oh, this is a pain in the ass to, put our sins on the goat and have this ritual every year. So what we need is something stronger, more powerful, something that'll atone for our sins forever.
Yep. I can see it.
Honestly, I've always found everything about Christianity to be rather repulsive. Like, I used to go to a church, and it was just a really weird experience, like really bad experience, I guess you could say. I met this guy, and I still know him. He's still alive, and what he would tell me about, there was this prison, right, for young boys. And they actually made a movie about it here. The CBC did, which is our Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They made a movie about this school for boys. And so he was kind of like a troubled kid. His parents abandoned him when he was really young. And he would tell me some of the most vile, repulsive, fucked up shit about this place. Basically, if you didn't, this is going to be pretty fucked up, you guys, but if you didn't suck the priest's dick, they would bash your teeth out.
Ew.
He lost most of his teeth because he was mouthy and refused to do it.
Jeez.
So the priest basically would sexually abuse the young boys. And if you were really mouthy and you really pissed off the clergy there, the priest, they would simply, you would see them take the kid outside and they'd walk the kid into the forest, and the two priests would come back and they would never see the kid again. So I've just always had a weird thing with anything regarding Christianity.
Given that, I could see why you might wind up in that perspective. Yes.
Yeah.
I know Christians who are beautiful, beautiful people, and I know that, as far as giving, caring, but yet they still will profess that that most people think love.
Amy, you're breaking up pretty bad again.
So
yeah, he always robots out like that at some point.
Oh, I thought it was just me hearing that. Jeez.
Oh, it's my computer. I'm running at 100% CPU.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, whenever I get on
from
Hangouts,
Boston,
it does
PC
that.
fire. Here we go.
Well, maybe you can ask Richie from Boston for a bit of that Patreon money that he got when his computer blew up.
Okay, you guys. So let's move on a little bit. I don't want to just bash Christianity all night. Although I've got a pile of notes and I've done tons of years worth of research. I could do an entire show just destroying every story in the Bible, and I got some crazy stories.
Not just the Bible, every other religion to go with it.
In fact, you want to hear a funny one? Since we're on the story, before we move on real quick, since I was talking about Exodus, Sandra, I think it was Sandra, said that she had read the Bible all the way. Was it Sandra? You said you read the Bible all the way through? Or was it Adelaide? You said you read the Bible like 10 times. I forget. Somebody in the chat said they read the Bible 10 times. I wonder if you're familiar with the story of Exodus. Moses is being trained by God. Literally, God gives Moses a little training session on how to do magic tricks so that he could go and impress the Pharaoh's priests, and they could have their little competition. God sends Moses to go have a magic off with the priests of the Pharaoh so that Moses could then impress the Pharaoh and then free the Israelite slaves from Egypt, right? So this is Moses' job to go free the slaves. He's commanded by God. He's trained by God to do magic tricks, to turn his staff into a serpent, and to make his hand become leper, and then heal itself, and river into blood, and all this kind of silly stuff. Well, turns out that the priests of the Pharaoh, they could do those things too. They could do magic tricks too. So they weren't very impressed. Besides that, a part of the story is that God hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would not free the Israelite slaves. Well, that seems kind of counterproductive. If you're God, you just fucking spoiled your own plan, right? Why would you train Moses and command him to go free the Israelites while simultaneously hardening Pharaoh's heart? That makes no freaking sense. And then on top of that, check this out. Here's the good part of the story. And you'll never see this in any Charlton Heston version of the Moses story or any of the movies. You'll never see this part.
No doubt.
Here it is. While on the way to Egypt, after Moses gets his magic training, he's on his way and he's at a lodging place, and God meets him on his path in a lodging place on his way to Egypt, and he's there to kill Moses. Inexplicably, unexplained in the story, in the Bible, no explanation whatsoever. God just shows up and he decides he's going to punch his ticket. He's going to kill Moses. After commanding Moses to go free the Israelites, after training Moses to do magic tricks, God unexpectedly shows up and he's going to kill Moses. Now, if that's not a head scratcher.
That's a head scratcher.
Now I'm confused.
Can you guess what stops God from killing Moses? You're going to love this. You're going to love it. If you don't know, you're going to love this.
I think I know.
Missing God?
What stops God from killing Moses?
His wife circumcises their son and rubs the foreskin all over.
You read my comment.
Yes, I did.
You saw my conversation with Chuck.
Yes, I did.
Yes, Moses' wife Zipporah takes a flint knife and cuts off her son's foreskin and touches Moses on the feet to him, saying, "You are truly a bridegroom of blood to me." And that assuages God's anger. And that stops God from killing Moses. Yes, sir. True story in the goddamn. I didn't want to say it that way, but it's in the Bible.
What a load of bullshit, man.
It's in Exodus, I think, chapter 4, or chapter 1. Yeah, it's in there. It's in there, baby. I'm not even playing with you.
Honestly, I don't believe any of that shit, man.
I mean, is that fucking crazy? That
is
crazy.
It makes Zippo sense.
Hey, Aaron, what is the Alpha and Omega?
The Alpha and the Omega.
Yep.
Well,
it's not J, buddy.
Not what?
It's not Jesus.
No, it's Isis. Isis is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end.
It's Leo the lion. The Sphinx in Egypt is the virgin on the front and the lion on the back. It's
deeper than that, bro.
Well, yeah, but
it goes back to India. It goes back to Hinduism.
Well, it's just astrological. It's the sun.
It's all astrotheology, all of it.
Birthing virgin.
Yes. Yeah. It's the sun being born in Virgo, and I can show you that too.
It starts and ends in Leo, so Leo's the Alpha and the Omega.
Well, Leo was right next to Virgo, so the sun, in its crux point at the analemma And for those who don't know what the analemma is, it's the figure 8 pattern the sun makes throughout the solar cycle. If you track the sun, it makes a figure 8 pattern in the sky every year, and that's the analemma. And so the analemma, when the sun is in the crossing point of the analemma, it's right there at Virgo, right next to Leo. So the sun is born of the Virgin and dies on the cross there on the analemma. So that goes into summer, and then it comes back around and it crosses the analemma again, which brings us into winter. And this happens between Virgo and Leo. But Blue, more to your point, the Alpha and the Omega, which is Latin or Greek for the beginning and the end, the start and the finish. The Hindu Om, O-H-M, Om, that's the origin of Omega. Mm-hmm. That's where the Greeks and the Latins got Omega. So all of this
thing's just not the thing everybody thinks it means.
Right.
Right.
But actually, more poignantly, the Omega or the Om sound, which the Hindus refer to as the universe or the sound of the universe or the sound of God. In fact, you can even read in your own Bible, the very first line in Genesis says, in the beginning there was a void, and in the beginning there was a word, and the word was God, and the word was with God.
That's the Om.
That's the sound. It's a word. It's this words are sound. And that's cymatics. And I could go into a whole tangent on this, on the origin of life. And I could blow your mind with because I mean, I've spent countless hours listening to religious debates. And one of the questions that is constantly being brought up is, well, what started everything? Where does life come from? And the other big question is, where do you get your morals from? That's a whole separate subject. But where life comes from, you know what? Let me just do this real quick. Fuck it, we're on the subject. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a screen share, and I want to show you a couple of quick pictures, and then we'll get off this subject. The origin of life. Let me show you guys something.
It's like the word Solomon. It has the name of the sun in it 3 times.
That's right. Solomon. That's correct.
All 3 are different names of the sun.
Okay, so I assume that most of you guys on the panel and probably most people listening are familiar with the concept of cymatics, right? The study of sound and energy affecting matter, right? You guys see my picture here? Amy, you got me highlighted? Hello, hello.
You should be now. Yeah, sorry, I took you off, but I put you back on.
All right, I just want to make sure I didn't lose connection.
No,
okay.
it's me.
So everybody see me?
Yep.
All right, okay. So you guys are familiar with cymatics, yeah? You pour salt on a steel plate, and you put that plate on a speaker, and you put it on a frequency generator, and the salt makes these patterns. You guys are familiar with cymatics, yeah?
Yep.
Yes, yes, yes.
Gandalf, you up to speed on cymatics?
You're muted, Gandalf. I don't know whether he stepped away. Maybe he stepped away.
Okay, well, I'll just move on. Check this out. Okay. Obviously, I'll just go back to this first picture. Obviously, what we have here is a nice hexagram. We've got a hex pattern, 6 pointed, right? Nice and symmetrical. And this happens because of sound frequency. Here's another picture. What does that look like? Doesn't that look like coral?
Yeah. Sure does.
Okay, this was created with cymatics. Okay, so there's coral. Now watch, here we go. Here are some crystals, some crystal patterns.
Nice.
There's one. These are created by salt and cymatics, certain frequencies. Come on, shrink. Come on, computer. Go to the next one. There's the other one. We have another interesting and symmetrical pattern created with cymatics. So there's no question that for certain frequencies, when you repeat the frequency, the pattern repeats. So this is a science. This is a repeatable, demonstratable, verifiable science. What does that look
Yep.
like to you?
Chemtrails?
Does that look like the belly of a lizard? The scaly pattern of a lizard?
That too? No.
Let's look at this
Yeah, it
one
looks
here.
like they're clouds.
Here's this is a landscape. He's at the shelter. Sambo. No, not for good. He'll be back tomorrow afternoon. Turn the bump the air conditioning, please. Okay, so here's some landscapes. What does that look like?
Fish bones.
Yes, ma'am. Or serpent. This is cymatics.
Serpent bone.
What does that look like?
Skeleton of a fish or something.
Doesn't that look like a human vertebrae?
Oh, I'm looking at it the wrong way. Yeah, it does actually. Without the sponge discs in between. Yeah.
What? Another one? Look on the very right side, the far right side, maybe the last right, the inch, 1 inch on the right side. What does that look like?
Cross.
Human vertebrae.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Come on, shrink down. Do-do-do-do. And, okay, this is a still photo of spiral galaxies being formed. Not only do you have the Fibonacci spiral, but if you could see this, this is a still shot from a video, and this is a three-dimensional. Those little particles are spinning and rotating in 3 dimensions and creating these spiral galaxy patterns. This is all those pictures are taken from this video that I'm showing you a screenshot right here. The gentleman sitting in front of what looks like an oriental rug. The rug itself represents cymatic patterns.
Nice.
Now, what does that look like?
Looks like that flat Earth, old flat Earth map thing.
Doesn't that
or
look kind of
owl
like
eyes?
it looks kind of like a mollusk?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
it does.
And there are other coral patterns that look like that. Now, here is from the same video a bunch of pictures that are created by cymatics. What do all these look like? Starting from top left, we have what look like stained glass windows. We have what look like snowflake patterns. You got the Star of David. You got your 5-pointed star, your 6-pointed star, your 8-pointed star. You got all these patterns. Look down here on the bottom. Oops, what happened? Come on, go back. All right, sorry.
They look like all the planets.
Right here. This picture right here. Look on the bottom.
Looks kind of DNA-ish.
Yeah, kind of looks DNA-ish.
Yep.
All right, so there you go. I'm done with that. I just wanted to show you guys, since we're on the...
I was wondering if we could look at this B article that
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let me take you off. And
I just want to mention before we get off that I was listening on my phone outside. Something you might really like to look into, Roof, would be 0 Point. It's a documentary and it's about 6, 7, 8 hours long. You would really dig that, man. Like, I got out of that when I watched it that these patterns, these repeating patterns, basically is like evidence of the creator, like a god that created the universe, is the gist I got out of it, man.
Well, I'm going to make a note of that. I will check it out. I'm not afraid of an 8-hour video, especially when I'm like driving. I do a lot of driving and I love to have shit to listen to, and that would be great. I will tell you that after Amy is done sharing, I want to show you guys something else that might blow your mind on this subject. sort of related to the subject, ancient symbology and cosmology and things like that, astrotheology. I found a confirmation in the Thunderbolts project. If you guys, I know you guys are familiar. And Gandalf, I'm pretty sure you're familiar, right? Blue, I know Amy is familiar with the Thunderbolts project.
Yep.
I found an amazing connection. I would call it a full-blown confirmation. And I'll share that with you in a few minutes. But Amy, you got something to share. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've got this article. Autonomous robot bees are being patented by Walmart. In brief, bee pop dwindling at a Supreme Court patent for autonomous robot bees, which would act as pollinators culture.
Oh,
Well, that's fine, but what about my honey?
Yeah.
Walmart has just fought autonomous robots. Yes, that Walmart. And no, slip into another stream. The mega corporations pay covers. These bots would act just like bees pollinating crops autonomously. No, they wouldn't. They'd only do part of the job. The robot bees would operate using sensors and cameras to help them navigate to crops. Flying around autonomously, these drones could potentially pollinate as effectively as the real thing. Potentially.
Great.
Oddly
Are they
enough,
going to have cameras in them too?
yeah, they said cameras.
Oh, more spy drones.
More spy
Welcome.
drones, yes. Oddly enough, this is not the only farming patent that Walmart has filed recently. According to CB Insights, this is only one of 6 Walmart patents for farming drones that would do everything from monitor crop damage to spray pesticides.
Nice.
Yum. Incorporating autonomous robots into farming could cut costs and increase agricultural efficiency. Why don't they do a robot that instead of spraying pesticides goes through and picks all the bad things off the plants as soon as they land? You know?
No kidding. Like predator drones that would go and attack all of the predator insects.
Exactly.
Instead of spraying pesticides, you could have predator drone bees that would go and kill all the little bugs that like
all
to
the
eat
bugs.
crops.
That's right.
I
That's
can
right.
bet you Monsanto's behind this too.
You think? Nah, couldn't be.
Well, let's not forget Monsanto was purchased by Bayer for $666 billion.
You know what?
Yeah.
I noticed in my community here, just down the street, a big Bayer headquarters went up here about 5 years ago.
Creepy.
Well, they're going to need to expand. They just took on Monsanto.
Yep.
Yep.
And they're getting rid of the Monsanto name, I guess.
They say 90% of all the canola grown in Canada is Monsanto's canola.
Yum. I avoid canola when I can. Anyway,
Go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
let me finish the article here really quick. The thing that's so puzzling about this move is why Walmart. The retailer hasn't publicly commented on the patents yet, so the reasons behind Walmart's sudden interest in farming drones has to be left up to interpretation. There's your answer. Yet, since many Walmart locations do carry produce, it's possible that the company is looking to gain more control of the food it's selling, perhaps by taking such a significant role in agriculture. The company will be able to improve quality and cut costs. This seems like a sound explanation, especially since Walmart has decided to expand its grocery service. According to a patent filed by the company in January, this service will allow shoppers to accept or reject produce. While such a service has potential to rake in serious business for Walmart, it also means they will need to step up the quality of their produce. Hence, potentially the robo-bees. Meanwhile, honeybee populations are dying, and we no longer take pollination for granted. These small creatures are the backbone of agriculture and the food that we eat. While scientists work to better understand pollinator populations and hopefully come up with solutions, farming drones, culture, and fresh produce alive. Now, I'm sitting here thinking, if all these bees are dying, why isn't the price of honey going? It's been pretty steady. It hasn't at all. So now
That's a good
ask,
point, Amy.
not dying, or is it to or is it robo invaders?
I don't know, but that's a really good point you bring up, Amy, because every time frost hits Florida, the price of avocados and the price of oranges immediately just jumps right off. As soon as something happens, as soon as a minor incident happens, the price of that product jumps.
Yep.
I mean, somebody farts in the Middle East and I got to pay 10 cents extra at the pump.
Exactly.
You know, there's a hurricane barreling down on the East Coast and the price of oranges jumps.
Yep.
A frost comes through and kills the blueberries and the blueberry price jumps.
Yep.
So why have we not seen any increase in the price of bees if the bees are dying the way they're saying that they're dying?
In honey.
Yeah, honey. Thank you. The colony collapse disorder. I'm not saying that that's not true. Maybe there's some truth to that, but apparently the honey market is not hurting.
Yeah. So why? If we're being told that this is imminent and they're dying every which way but loose, and yet no sign in the market.
Well, I can tell you the bees are healthy here. I've trapped about a dozen of them from inside the house here in the last week.
Yeah. In fact, I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, the bees around here are doing well." A lot of people.
Yeah.
I think
the bumblebees here look like freaking bears with wings. They're huge.
When you say bumblebee, you talking about the black and white, the carpenter bees?
No, these are yellow jackets. They're like a wasp, a hornet.
Okay.
And I've trapped honeybees and huge, like the biggest bumblebees I've ever seen in my life. These things come by you, man. It's like a little miniature helicopter drone.
Yeah, you hear the.
Oh, it's just like, it's like, whoa. And I actually stuck my hand out the other day, and one landed on my hand, and I carried him out of the house.
You might have a damn hive in your walls, bro. If you got that many in your house.
No, it's because we leave the doors open for the cats.
Oh.
So I don't mind. I love all the animals. Yeah, I don't see any sign of anything dying off here.
Okay, so let me show you guys this.
Okay, let me put you back on, Aaron.
Amy, I've already showed you this. So you
and Aaron, and your gas only goes up 10 cents a gallon?
I was just speaking off the cuff.
ours just jumped 13 cents a liter yesterday. Last night.
Yeah, that's right. You guys are measured by liters, and so yeah, that's
right. And our gallon is bigger than yours.
What is it? It's like 2 2.33 liter makes a gallon, something like that.
Your gallon, your U.S. gallon is 3.95, I believe, and ours is 4.54. It's a bigger gallon.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so
weird.
What you guys are paying for fuel there right now, about $3 a gallon, somewhere close to that.
Right now, today it was $2.71 a gallon.
Okay, well, we're paying $1.32, $1.33 a liter right now. So times that 4.5. We're paying $5 a gallon.
Holy.
And you know, all this bullshit NAFTA stuff with Trump and Trudeau, you know, and the tariffs on the milk and the steel and the lumber. How about we shut off our pumps here, pumping our crude oil to the US and see what happens? Because you guys get a lot of your oil from us. And yet we're paying twice as much for it than you guys are paying for it.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's the biggest scam going. We produce enough in this province alone to feed our entire country. Yet we pay more than what you guys pay for yours. Who just cut out?
Let me see here.
Gandalf.
Gandalf bailed on us?
I've got my Hangouts have quit 3 times on me.
Okay, so I assume.
Yeah, they do that sometimes.
I assume you guys are. I know Amy is. I'm going to assume that everyone listening, and you as well, Blue, you're familiar with the Thunderbolts project. Let me see. I'm not sure if I have a screenshot of their.
I'll be honest about that Thunderbolts project.
Where did it go? Where did I put that? Where did I put that picture? Etymology, it's not there. Ouroboros, Thunderbolts, Analema. I found the most amazing correlation. Let me just try to do this real quick. Here, since I'm looking right at it, let me just show you this because it's a little bit off topic. On the right, this is the image of Marduk slaying Tiamat. This is Sumerian Babylonian.
You're not screen sharing. I did a present to all, but you have to turn on a screen share.
Oh, I thought I did that.
Nope. I just see your little
All right.
rock carvings.
All right, there.
That looks better.
Okay. What we were talking about earlier about religion and everything goes back to India. You guys might be familiar with this picture. You may have seen this floating around. This is an image of the god Tiamat, the god Marduk, slaying Tiamat. Okay, you see my picture here?
Yep.
All right, check this out. This, on the left side, is from India. This is from the Vedas of India, which is way older than Sumeria, way older than Babylonia. Look at the unbelievable, identical nature of these two rock carving reliefs, particularly the Marduk character.
Wow, it reminds me of the picture carrier from Göbekli Tepe.
Look at Marduk. Look at his beard. Look at his hair. And then go over and look on the left. Look at the beard and the hair. And look at his crown or his hat, his headdress.
Yep.
They
Looks
both have
very
wings.
similar.
They both have wings. And by the way, for anybody interested, if anybody listening, whenever you see an image, a carving or a drawing or painting of relief like this with a character, here we have Marduk and he's got wings on his back. Anytime you see someone with wings, that means that they're in the sky. That means that they fly. And more important, that means that they're in the stars. Okay? This is all astrotheology, all of it. Look at his little tunic, the way it drapes over his leg on the left, and compare it the way the tunic drapes over his leg on the right. Look at the position of his arms. One arm is forward, In this case, on the left, he's grabbing onto the bird or the ostrich or whatever that is. Also, it has wings, by the way. And his right hand or his opposite hand is up in the air with the bent elbow holding the weapon. This is the identical. So the Sumerian image of Marduk slaying Tiamat comes from the Vedas of India.
But doesn't both of those characters both still represent Saturn? That's what I've found. Marduk.
It could be Saturn.
Next one coming up was Dagon, and
it could be Mars.
Keep adding and just keep changing the character's name.
It could be Mars. It could be Saturn, and it could be Mars. Now, I'm going to go there in a second here. If I can find these pictures, what the hell did I do with these pictures?
And after Marduk, it was Dagon, and then after him, it was Moses. And it's all the same thing, representation of way back when they thought Saturn was the second sun, or was more dominant than it is now, something to that effect. That's just the representation.
I don't know if it's in here.
Right. The Jews still worship Saturn, right?
The Jews still worship Saturn to this very day. That's correct.
Right. So it's just all stolen ancient mythology. Or not stolen, plagiarized, I guess.
Okay. I'm going to have to pull this up. Let's see. I want to go over. I was just rewatching it just very recently. Oops. I want to go to history. I want to pull up this image of the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts project, one of their main documentaries is called Symbols of an Alien Sky. I was just watching this recently. I took a nap to it today.
Yes.
I love
it. That's a good one.
This is a very, very, very good documentary. But let me see if it's going to bring up the picture. Where'd that picture go?
Yeah, I think all this frequency that we're creating with their cell towers everywhere, that's why we're seeing these weird cloud patterns. I think it's all these high frequencies we're creating.
I think the frequencies are being deliberately delivered to what's in the air.
Well, you got to remember that everything started out with troposcatter, right?
The Saturn symbology is important, and I'm glad you brought that up. Because what's really important for people to understand...
I got to take a quick call here. I'll be right back.
Let me just expand this out so you can get a good look. I'll just leave it just like that. So this image is what the Thunderbolts project, this is an artist rendition of Saturn in the background, and then the white with all the star pattern, that's Venus, and then right in front of Venus is Mars. So what happened was there was a planetary alignment in our ancient past, and humans were around to see it and record it. And the planet Saturn, the planet Venus, and the planet Mars were much, much, much closer to Earth and very, very visible in our sky. And this is where we get many of our symbols, and this is where we get the myths of old, of the heroes, of the gods, and all these stories. And this is why Saturn is one god, and Mars is a god, and Venus is a goddess. So what happened was Mars would oscillate between Venus and Earth. So it would get closer to Earth, and then it would get farther away, and closer to Earth and further away. It would sort of oscillate back and forth. And when it was close to Earth, Mars would start to, the gravitational forces, because Earth is bigger and stronger, Mars would start to lose and shed some of its material, dust, dirt, and debris and water would literally flow from Mars to Earth, and the view of the human beings who lived on Earth, the view looked like a mountain of red or a pillar, because all this material was flowing from Mars to Earth, and we could literally see this material. So what I want to do now is I want to, because I can't find the picture, I'm going to have to pull one up on the Google.
But strangely enough, it's never happened since.
I want, let's see, it's called, it's a 16th century art. It's an oil painting from the 16th century. It's called The Glorification, that's it. Called The Glorification of the Eucharist. There it is, right there. This is a well-known, famous painting. It's called The Glorification of the Eucharist. You guys got my screen there?
Yep.
Okay, so this is an image of Christ and God sitting on their thrones, and they're playing around with what looks like maybe an earth, except you don't see land mass, and they're playing with, you know, weird antennae, and it almost looks like the Death Star with this thing down below. But this is only a small portion of the overall picture, the painting. There it is. There's the painting in full size. Look at that. Down here, below God and Christ, in the center of the painting, what do you see?
The mountain with the light and the whole thing.
Well, Alan Saturn was also
As-
considered a volcanic mountain, wasn't it?
The red is Mars, and the pillar.
thunder.
Yes, and the pillar and the mountain-looking thing. As you can see, the mountain is translucent, and the background goes through it. So that's the dust coming off of Mars, and the red pillar and the red mountain in the center is Mars losing a dense portion of its material, being sucked down to Earth, quite literally. And what you see is a yellow background, and then a blue circle, and then a red circle, and a white circle. This is the alignment that these guys, the Thunderbolts Project, according to the ancient writings, the ancient symbols, this planetary alignment happened in our ancient past. It was very, very close to Earth. It was seen by people on Earth. There was a transfer of material from Mars to Earth, and I found by accident here in this image called The Glorification of the Eucharist, a representation of that exact image put forth by Thunderbolts Project.
How old is it? This picture's not that old though, right? Only a few hundred years old.
16th century.
Yeah. Yeah, because nobody before that was painting balls.
But let's remember that in the 16th century, around that period of time, when Da Vinci and all the other artists of the time, they didn't just paint these things willy-nilly. These paintings did not come out of the imagination of the artists. They were commissioned by the crown. They were commissioned by the Pope. These paintings were commissioned. They were ordered. It's like, okay, Da Vinci, we want you to paint this, 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 and this. We want it to look like this. We need you to represent this. And, you know, make it look good. We'll pay you good. So that's how these paintings come about. These artistic renderings are not the imagination of the artist. They are ordered, they're commissioned by the church and by the crown, and by various rich families who also commissioned artworks. But they were commissioned based on the knowledge that they had already possessed, which was the ancient knowledge. So they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were asking for. They knew what they were ordering. So when you see this old artwork, again, I want to pound that down, man. Some people don't know that these old religious paintings were not out of the mind and the creative breadth of the artist. They were commissioned. They were ordered. Okay, so I just wanted to share that. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail on another show or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my computer, like, I don't know, went wacky, and like I was trying to share some stuff, like some pictures about Göbekli Tepe, and then everything shut down. That was really bizarre.
Well, I'm done if you want to. I'm done sharing screen if you want to try again.
Well, I was just mentioning about when you were showing that picture of Marduk and how it was exactly like the thing in India. It really reminded me of the stone carvings on Göbekli Tepe of the bird and the man carrying the pitcher. Now, like, you guys have probably seen images of a man carrying what looks like a basket or a pitcher, right?
Yeah, it's Aquarius.
Yeah, so the oldest known rendering of that, I think it goes back to like Sumeria, and that was maybe like 6,000 years ago. But when they uncovered Göbekli Tepe, and Göbekli Tepe is the hill in southern Turkey, right near the Syrian border.
Yeah, I know all about Göbekli Tepe. It's called Potbelly Hill.
Yeah.
It's 12,000 years old. But go ahead.
Yeah, and so there's an actual rendering of Aquarius, the pitcher carrier, on one of the stone carvings at Göbekli Tepe from 12,000 years ago. So these ancient symbols, these ancient metaphors, whatever these people are alluding to, this is like an ancient knowledge base that probably goes back maybe like 20,000 years ago to the time of the first civilizations that existed on Earth. Now, this is like information that's completely lost to us today. But like, even if you mention this, that there were civilizations 20,000 years ago, it sounds totally nuts to people, right? But since Göbekli Tepe has been on Earth, it's given credibility to these people that claim that these civilizations date back at least to 20,000 years ago, what we know of as Atlantis and Lemuria, right?
Yep.
What's really strange about Göbekli Tepe is if you look at the stones in Göbekli Tepe, they're shaped in what looks like a T.
Yeah.
And it's thin, then it gets wider, and it looks like big T stones. The T stones actually can be found all throughout the Pacific region, and that's supposed to be a main symbol for the ancient Lemurian civilization, is the T stone. Now, what's so bizarre about it is it means that this Lemurian civilization was worldwide, which they claim existed they claim it existed 50,000 to 20,000 years ago. And the T stones that are found in Göbekli Tepe, it's evidence that that these ancient civilizations really did exist. You know, it's like, but most people like don't even believe that, even if they hear that information.
Well, yeah. I've heard estimates upwards from 80,000 plus.
Yeah, I've heard as much as 150,000 and
yeah, me too.
more.
Well, I mean, if you listen to people like Michael Cremo, then now we're getting into the hundreds of millions.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. See, that's what's so insane about this information is it sounds so hard to believe, you know what I mean? If you're just coming across, say if somebody were to come across this and we're talking about civilizations existing hundreds of thousands of years ago, right? But it's not unlikely if you think about it. Humans haven't really evolved or changed too much in the past 150,000 years since we first evolved. So why couldn't we have been capable of building civilizations at that time when we first came into being, right?
Well, if you're a young Earth creationist, then we're all a bunch of shills because the Earth isn't older than 6,000 years.
Yes.
And God put dinosaur bones in the ground to confuse us.
Yeah, we've been
Right.
seduced by demons.
So, let's move on to, let me change the subject, you guys. I did a little bit of digging into net neutrality and the decision by the FCC that just passed this week. And I want to get your opinions and your knowledge on the subject and tell you what I have found. Obviously, there's a lot of people screaming about net neutrality and the freedom, and most people are only familiar with the concept of your internet speed slows down and some traffic gets favored and some traffic gets throttled and stuff like that. So just this week, the FCC rolled back the rules. Basically, they're giving more power to the ISPs, that's the internet service providers, making the internet, ultimately what they want is the internet to look more like cable TV is one of the main goals. One of the things that we're going to see as a result of this new FCC ruling, and by the way, there's also that thing happening in Europe, which I'm much less familiar with. So any of my European friends can leave me comments and let me know in the chat what's happening over there, because I'm just not that familiar with what they're doing. But the FCC rolled back the rules this past week. Now, before I go any further, it's important for everyone to realize that this is not set in stone, that there's currently a petition. Right now, there's a motion in Congress to stop the FCC in their tracks, and it's called the Discharge Petition. That's SJ Resolution 52. So if you are interested, you can go on to your local websites, your local senator website, your local government websites, and search out SJ Resolution 52. It's called the Discharge Petition, SJ Resolution 52. You can find out if your senator or your congressman has signed on to this petition. And it will essentially, there's some legislation in the process to literally stop it in its tracks, the FCC ruling. Don't forget that this coming November, if your senator or your congressman's name is not on this list, then you have an opportunity to vote them out this next election this year in November. One of the things, the move online, what we're going to see is more online tracking of our online activity, and that means more targeted advertising. They're going to track where you go on what website, what you're looking at, what kind of content you're viewing and reading, and you're going to start seeing more targeted advertising. Now, that's as good and bad. Nobody likes to be followed and tracked. But on the other hand, myself, I'll just speak for myself for the moment. I'm a 47-year-old man. What I don't need is emails and advertising for, I don't know, Kotex tampons. Okay? So on one hand, targeted advertising is a good thing. It's good for advertisers and it's good for consumers. I don't need to be bothered with Kotex tampon advertising or feminine hygiene products. These are not the kind of things I'm interested in purchasing. And if you send me those ads, you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. So it's not a good marketing strategy. So for the perspective of the marketer, it's just bad business to be sending blanket. If you're paying X number of dollars per send out or per viewer, then you're paying more than it's worth, because half of your, half of your consumers are males, for instance. They're not interested in feminine products, right? So targeted advertising is actually good and bad. Obviously, we don't like being tracked, but on the other hand, we're bombarded with advertisements everywhere we go, and it does serve the consumer. It serves the consumer to have targeted advertising. And I'm just telling you my opinion. I think it's more worth it for me to have targeted advertising. I don't want ads for shit that there's no way in hell I'm ever going to buy under any circumstances. Like, for me, feminine products. You know what I mean? So
I don't want to be bombarded by any ads by any company anywhere. If I want something, I will find it. Thank you very much. Stay out of my life with your bullshit.
well, okay, I can appreciate that. We
So
all
no,
can.
I don't want to be tracked to be advertised to.
We
'Cause I
all
don't want to buy a Kia. I'll never buy a Kia, so stop showing me Kia. Come on.
You know what's been bugging me lately is I just got a new phone a couple of weeks ago. And it was time for an upgrade, got a new phone. My new phone is tracking my every motion everywhere I go. And although my old phone was doing the same thing, what my new phone is doing is different. I'm now getting advertising for places that I visit, like Home Depot or a restaurant or a hotel, because I did some traveling recently, had to go up to Maryland for some work. And every fucking time I stop somewhere, my phone is sending me emails and advertising asking for surveys, rate this place, survey, please answer these questions, advertising for a particular product because I happen to be parked in a parking lot and there happened to be a store in that parking lot and they're like, hey, do you want some of this? You want some of that? Answer these questions, give us a survey. It's like up my ass with just bugging the shit out of me everywhere I go. I mean, I thought it was bad before. Now my new phone just won't let it go. It just will not let me have any fucking peace.
Oh, I won't be getting any more new phones after this one, and it's on its third year. It's probably going to crap out anytime. I'm so sick of phones and technology. I'd just as soon have an old flip phone if you could get one to work.
I can't even go to Home Depot without getting an email. Rate this place.
I am so glad I do not have a phone.
My maps and my Google Maps, you know, the navigation app on your phone, if you want to navigate somewhere, look for an address, get directions or whatever.
Yep.
It's constantly asking me every time I stop somewhere. It's constantly asking me to take a picture and upload it so that other people can see this location. Get the, you know what? Stop it.
You must have certain things enabled on your phone, do you? I don't get any of that on my phone. I don't get any of that stuff on my phone.
Now, is there even a way to disable this shit from happening?
I'm going to have to get into this thing and dig into the settings and see if
There might be some apps you have to delete that are built into the phone too, or already loaded.
Probably in settings. I'll probably have to just get into it real deep. And
I've disabled
that's another
apps
thing.
on my-
That's another thing. Every time I get a new phone, it's like everything has changed. All the apps are different. The icons are different. And so I don't, you know, you look on that list of all your apps and it's like you don't see what you're looking for because the icon is different and all the settings, everything's in a different place. And Jesus Christ, piss me off.
What I hate is my phone's constantly updating stuff like my music. My music gets saved onto Google Play, right? And it's updating my song. Like, how are you updating my songs? I don't get it. Phone's always updating. I've given it no permission to do any updating. What updating does it need?
Well, I did notice
It's always changing and you can't stop it.
my old phone, which is not that old, my contact list, when I got my old phone 2.5 years ago, I got it and it was new. My contact list, the icons for all the people on my contact list, some of the icons changed and my phone was showing me the Google thumbnail icon that some of my people on my list, if you have a Google Plus account and you choose a photo or an image for your icon, like Blue, I don't have your phone number, but if I had your phone number, if you and I exchange phone numbers, if I just simply type in your phone number on my phone, your icon, your little scale, you got scales for your icon, it would show up on my contact list on my phone.
Huh. You should have my number. I have yours.
Did we exchange numbers?
Well, yeah, because we talked there for 3 hours last year.
Oh, fuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I still got your number.
Roof,
I'll send you a text. It'll cost me probably $1 to send it.
Roof, I wanted to ask you. You were talking about the something called like the 153.
Oh yeah, we could get into that too.
Yeah, like I've been wanting to get into this because people have been mentioning this back and forth for a while now. Like, what the hell is that? Is it just some kind of website that people are using now?
And it's fishy. Get it?
Yeah, it's real fishy. on many levels. Good little pun there. And yeah, Blue, send me a text because the contacts, my contact list, when it transferred from the old phone to the new phone, a couple of the phone numbers didn't come through, and I don't have you. So send me a text so that I can have you. Yeah, Gandalf. Hold that thought. Let me just finish this net neutrality thing real quick. I don't have much. Let me get through this, and then we'll get on to the 153 website. I definitely want to cover that. So
yeah, we've only got less than half an hour here.
Well, we started late, so I don't care.
Yeah, we could go a little late, I suppose, although I have a friend who's hoping I'll stop by.
Yeah, I sent you a text there, Aaron.
I got it.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, bro. Got it. Okay.
Call me anytime.
So AT&T, this is on my news ticker, cable news ticker feed this morning on the news, on the little bottom of the news, the ticker. AT&T just acquired Time Warner. This has been something that's been in the works for a little while. It's finally approved. It finally went through. So AT&T just acquired Time Warner. They already own DirecTV. Keep that in mind. So net neutrality, the rules have been rolled back, and the corporations, the ISPs, the providers of our internet, they're going to have more power to fast track various services and throttle back the data on other services and basically just muck up our interactions. We're probably not going to see much change right off the bat. I strongly suspect that we're not going to see any changes until this whole concept, this whole awareness dies down. And you know what I'm talking about. It's just a subject of focus. People are paying attention to it. In a couple of weeks, nobody's going to give a shit. Nobody will be talking about it anymore. And that's when we'll start seeing changes. And most likely what we're going to see are changes that involve streaming, particularly movies, because we've got lots and lots of competition with Amazon, Hulu, Netflix. There's a thing with Verizon that are doing movie streaming. I think there's a thing with HBO Go is what it's called. So there are multiple services that provide movie streaming online. And so there's lots of competition. There's also plenty of little smaller startup companies. More than likely what we're going to see is that's where we'll the first manifestation of net neutrality rollback. We'll see it in the streaming of the movies. And then what we're going to see is, and I'm predicting this, we're going to see a conglomeration, an acquisition of all of the streaming services like Hulu and Netflix. They're going to start merging, and then they're going to get bought up by the bigger corporations like AT&T. Like I just said, AT&T just acquired Time Warner. Now, Time Warner is a huge media company. AT&T already owns DirecTV. AT&T is already a huge, formidable company in and of itself, and they've just acquired Time Warner. So we're going to see more and more consolidation, and the internet is, particularly with streaming movies, you're going to see more and more coming like cable TV, where you'll have less and less options. it'll be harder and harder for startup companies to compete. And then if the provider that you're using, let's say, for instance, if you're on Hulu, and let's say AT&T acquires, let's say they buy up HBO, and let's say they buy up Verizon, and they don't buy up Hulu, and you're using Hulu, well, you might have a hard time getting your Hulu video streaming service to work properly. You might have a little glitchiness, a little bit of throttling of the data or the buffering. This is what we're going. This will be the first manifestations that we see of net neutrality rollback. YouTube also has their movie streaming service as well. So this is where we're going to see messing with our data and the further acquisition of and consolidation of those services. And I just want to remind people that right now in Congress is a motion to stop the FCC in their tracks. And I just want to remind you, it's called the Discharge Petition SJ Resolution 52. If you give a shit, you can go and see if your congressman has signed. And if not, remember election time this November. So Gandalf, you wanted to talk about 153. Let's talk about 153.
Yeah, like, what is this? Like, I'm clueless. People keep mentioning that it's like some kind of network or something like that.
It's a startup that is intended to compete with Vimeo and YouTube. It's an alternative video sharing website. That's what 153 is. 153news.net is a website that is attempting to compete with YouTube as in supposedly, now here's the clitcher. Here's the crux of the problem. It's supposed to be a censor-free website where you can host videos and interact much like you do on YouTube or Vimeo. And it's supposed to be censor-free. However, apparently, Amy's already laughing and she knows where I'm going. Apparently,
Yep.
it's not as censor-free as they like to advertise. Apparently, in order to get on this website, you have to, obviously, like any other, you sign up and you submit your information as to who you are and whatever and start your channel. And then they have a person-by-person approval process. So you don't just sign up. It's not automatic. Nothing is automatic. You don't just sign up for this. You send Jason Boss, and that's the guy's name who started this. You send him an email. And then he approves or disapproves your channel submission. And I can tell you, I've already got a short list of people, at least a handful that I can think of off the top of my head. Truth Seeker is one of them. I think Johnny Supertramp has had some trouble. He was on and then he got kicked off. I think Truth Seeker was denied even being able to get on. And by the way, if you don't know Truth Seeker, his name is Bob. We had him on the show. He does a lot of videos on
He's awesome.
APAC, and all his videos are geared toward exposing Zionism and shit like that. So he's one of those people that have been denied, literally not even able to start a channel. So, and then there are other channels, and I can't think of them off, but there are several that I've seen that have had channels. Amy, you might be one of them.
I would like to give my experience from my perspective dealing with them when.
Yeah. Just one more thing to say, and you can have it.
But yeah,
there are several channels, YouTube channels that I'm familiar with, who have had 153news.net channels that were deleted and removed after they had a channel up and going. So, Amy, go ahead and tell us your experience. And
well, I want you to know that I may have been about the but I know I was within the first sign. Like, I don't know. Just know I was in. I went buttons, the information that they needed, which didn't seem unreasonable. Clicked, yeah, here I am. I want to start up. I got in right away. There was no email, and I several those. And I sat and I waited for people to come by and make comment because I figured that, somebody would be interested in what I was doing there, right? We're working on trying to create a better planet, right? Well, I didn't get any comments for a couple of days. And then some flat earth person came in ranting about the flat earth, totally off topic of anything in my video. And I just sat there, this is like, okay, this is just weird. And I thought to myself, if this place was really what they said they were, they'd at least be in and discussing where we're going from here. Now that we've got all this evidence that maybe we've got this problem, let's solve for it, right? Anyway, no, I just went, okay, this is not worth my energy. And I didn't go back. I haven't gone back. People on Discord post up links to 153 with something that looks interesting, and I hear, Matilda Macy is over on 153. Some of you may know.
153. Oh, PK is on 153. And
yes,
on 153.
Well, I am too, but I'll tell you what.
Anaconda Malt Liquors on 153.
Nobody's paying attention to what I've put up over there at all. And it's like, all right, something's, when I first saw that they were promoting Sidethorn and promoting Anaconda, which I thought, I've been on the fence about him for quite a while, and that just kind of made me go, I'm going to give more probability to a problem being there, but I don't know, because I like a lot of his work. He's shown a lot of stuff that I felt was valid data we should be considering in evaluating what's going on. And I looked at that and went, and between no response and that, I just went, no, I just don't think they deserve any of my energy. I think my energy is far too valuable to give to them. And that was that. Anyway, I'm done now.
So 153, as Blue pointed out earlier, refers to a biblical story of Jesus helping fishermen catch 153 fish. So there's a story, it's a biblical story. Jason Boss, who is the founder of this website, is extremely religious. And I'll also mention that before 153 was even a thing, we had Henry from Death to Life channel.
Yes.
We had Henry on our show a couple of times. And we were good friends with Henry, and we liked what he was doing. Disagreed with some of the things, okay? We're not sycophants.
Yep.
But Henry alluded to a project that he was working on. He wouldn't give us any details, but he did say that it's gonna be an alternative YouTube platform, and he's working on something big, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
Well, it turns out that Henry, because what Henry does, Henry's in IT. That's what he does for his living. So Henry's an IT guy. Henry is also an ex-military intelligence guy.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know.
Subbed him a while
my
ago.
personal opinion is my personal opinion is that the religious angle is a part of the script.
That's correct.
Let's
And
put it
I was
that
gonna
way.
I was gonna go there.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna go
Rock
there because
on,
not
rock
only
on, Aaron.
not only is Jason Boss a very religious guy, and you could tell 153 is named for this story in the Bible where Jesus helps the fishermen catch 153 fish. So extremely religious. And then we have Henry, who is also a Bible literalist. And we've had Henry on. We've discussed flat earth with Henry. So Henry is a flat earther. Henry is extremely religious. And those are two things that I oppose pretty strongly, flat earth and religion. So 153news.net is essentially YouTube. It's essentially the religious flat earth version of YouTube. It's an echo chamber of truth seekers or truthers or whatever you want to call these people.
Truthers.
Yeah, they're truthers with the F. They're not truthers. It's an echo chamber. And that's why I have never gone there. That's why I've never joined. I've only watched maybe 2 or 3 videos in total since they've been up and running. And that's only because of various links of other people that I follow and went over and watched a couple of videos. But that's the extent of my experience on that website. I do know a bit about it. I just don't spend time on it. Now, it is a flat earth religious echo chamber. It is an echo chamber. And that's one of the echo chamber aspect for me was enough for me to not even be interested. If you're interested, if you're on YouTube and you're a truther, quote unquote, whatever, I hate having to do that, quote unquote, whatever. I hate having to put the pejorative after. You know what I mean? It's like we don't have any better term. We need a better term.
I don't know. How about problem solvers?
Well,
Wisdom seekers.
I
do like truth seeker, but whatever. You guys get it.
Yeah, truth seeker. I think that is.
Look, my point is, if you're on YouTube and you're putting out truth videos, you're trying to expose what you can on whatever subject. If that's why you're here, then you're here to wake people up. You're here to put out the message. Hopefully somebody will stumble on it. And yeah, we're all friends and we watch each other's videos and we comment on each other's videos, but we're not here for each other. We're not here to talk to we're not here to preach to the choir. We're not here to talk to the echo chamber.
Right.
If you go over to 153, that's what you will find is an echo chamber.
Well, and a very strictly confined echo chamber at that.
Correct. Nailed it.
And Sidethorn, he's like one of the ringleaders of this, eh?
Yes.
And I tell you,
oh my God.
They're all, everyone over there on 153 is just in full on, it's like damage control mode. They're all defending Sidethorn.
Yes.
God.
I saw the writing on the wall last fucking year when Pizza.
How was that guy not in prison just for making death threats to so many different people?
Well,
no, dude, I got screenshots. That fucker's threatened me plenty.
Yeah,
That's
he has threatened me as well.
If I took that video to the RCMP here, I'd go and arrest his ass.
Maybe.
So
Unless
where's the arrest for all the death threats he's made?
Guys, I saw the writing on the wall a year ago. You remember when Pizzagate came around? Was all the rage. Everyone was talking about Pizzagate. Comet Ping Pong, James Olifantis.
Yep.
And you remember the news story where some asshole, whether he's an agent or just some dumbass, we don't know, we'll never know. Some guy goes into the fucking pizza shop. He goes into the Comet Ping Pong with his AR-15 and shoots the place up, shoots the floor, shoots the ceiling tile, and he says, while he's being arrested, he says he's there to investigate child trafficking. Right. You're going to take your AR-15 and start taking shots. That's what you call investigating. Okay. No, thank you.
Yes.
Bullshit.
Yeah. No, Aaron, I don't think.
Let me finish.
Okay.
So this guy goes into the pizza shop, shoots the place up. This happened, and then what happened? Right after that, it was only a couple of weeks later, right here in my own hometown, we had Justin Wu Lee.
Yes.
Justin Wu Lee, Counter Tyranny Ops channel. Some of us know this guy. He's a truther, or was. He went off the rails, killed his mom. For some reason, stole her car, drove across town over to Roswell, right here in my own town. They lived in Marietta. He kills his mom, takes her car, and drives over 20 or 30 miles to Roswell, and for some reason goes to a self-storage facility, kills that guy with a knife, takes his fucking car, and goes on some kind of rampage before he gets caught and picked up.
Did any of you guys watch the last videos that Justin Woolley put up?
All of them.
No, but hold that thought. Let me finish this real quick because I'm talking about the writing on the wall. So first was a ping pong shooter, and then Justin Woolley goes off the rails. Another YouTube truther kills his mom, goes off the rails, killed another stranger for no apparent reason. And then what do we have? And then we had Professor Doom.
Oh, shit.
Professor Doom, the ex-con.
Yes.
The ex-con who uses voice software to alter his voice, goes and stabs somebody. He's on parole or on probation or some shit. He's already an ex-con. He goes and stabs some guy 5 times. Now he's back in prison. And Professor Doom was a big time truther. He had many tens of thousands of subscribers. He was pretty well known. And then what did we have after that? We had the YouTube shooter, that crazy. What was that? What was her nationality? That crazy bitch goes into
Persian girl.
That CGI creation, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
iRobot.
Seriously, I really think that we could.
So
get
on
high
top
probability there.
So on top of all of what I've just mentioned, what do we have? We got Sidethorn.
Yes. Oh, he's a classic, ain't he? A classic. Oh, we're going to demonize this group by putting this out in the media and whatnot.
Right.
Yep.
See, that's the thing when it came to Sidethorn. I honestly think Sidethorn was part of like a crew of people that started calling everything a hoax. Like Sidethorn, I remember he was calling a fucking bus crash a hoax.
Oh my God, bro. I had Sidethorn on my show a year and a half ago.
Yes, we did.
And I like to do my homework. And so I look into each guest and I look at what they talk about and what they put out so that I know who I'm talking to and I'm not left in the dark during my interviews. So I looked into Sidethorn and checked out his channel, see what he was putting out and what he had up. He had a fucking video on Smart Dust. And it was so fucking retarded. I can't even, I'm going to try, but I'm not sure if I'm going to express how fucking retarded this was.
Smart.
Now imagine a video. Now imagine a video where you've got your smartphone, you know, the flashlight, that bright LED, and listen. Now imagine you're standing on the staircase going into your basement. So all you really see is a tiny bit of surroundings. You see a dark background, and you see a bunch of highly illuminated dust because the camera flash bulb is, the LEDs are bright as fuck, right? So he's got this video where he's like going into his basement or something, either his basement or some other, I don't know where it was, but it was dark. And you see the dust, and the dust is floating around with the air currents. And you hear him say, left, 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 left. And then he goes, right, 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 right. And the dust moves left, and then the dust moves to the right. This is
Oh.
Sidethorn. So yeah, Gandalf, this is a guy who promotes any wacky, crazy conspiracy. Everything's a hoax. Everything is fucking out to get you.
Yes.
See, I think that what these guys operated as, and now I'm sketched about Sidethorn, honestly, and I think that he worked with like a network of people that were trying to astroturf us into saying everything was a fucking hoax.
Totally.
Because when that all went down, everyone started, then people actually did. I noticed a lot of people actually went along with it, and myself included. I will admit, I was like, oh, well, everyone's saying this is fucking a hoax, and the story's only been out for fucking 20 minutes. And I'm like, fuck, like, okay, well, I guess we'll all go along with this. And like, it started but then when Sidethorn started talking about fucking balloon crashes being hoaxes, that fucking Chattanooga bus crash, I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Oh, dude, when he was on my show, we talked about the balloon crash in Texas, and he has footage where him and old Granny, they were out in the field filming from the opposite side where all the cops and everybody had gathered. But he's standing out in the field filming this. And I remember talking to him on the show, and I said, wait a minute. I've seen this. That's you? You filmed this? And he was like, yeah, we were there. We were on scene.
Oh.
Now, I didn't challenge him, but later on I thought to myself, wait a minute. How the fuck were you out in the middle of this field while they're doing a fucking investigation and no cop stopped you? How the fuck does that happen?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We're talking about a field, like a crop, a field of crops. There's no, you don't hide. There's a human being standing in a crop, a field of planted crops of some kind. I don't know if it was corn or whatever, but it wasn't very tall. How the fuck did they not see a pair of people filming and not approach you and stop you and arrest you? And what the fuck are you doing here? And who the fuck are you? How does that happen?
Yeah, and then Buddy gets on to Vice News, and fucking they're just randomly interviewing him on Vice News.
Okay, so for those who are listening who don't know, Sidethorn, with his own words in his own mouth, through his own lips, I heard him say on one of his own videos, that's now deleted, but I'm telling you the God honest truth. Sidethorn told me, or said in his own video with his own words, he said, I was an ex-cop. I'm an ex-cop, and I used to be a cop, and while I was a cop, I was featured on one of those cop shows. You know, where they follow you around with cameras and they film your arrests and shit like that. You know, bad boys, what you gonna do? He was on one of those cop shows. So not only is he ex-military, ex-law enforcement, featured on a cop show, but he was also an actor who actually had lines, not a standby background actor, but he had lines in a fucking movie called, does anybody remember? I think it starts with an L. What's that movie called? He was like a cowboy. He was on a horseback, and he had lines. They gave him lines. He was in a fucking movie, a real movie.
No fucking way.
So it's like Freemason then too, right?
So yeah. So, okay, we got ex-military, ex-cop, on a cop show, in a movie, and truther who's running around acting worse than PK with the vitriol and the attacks and craziness.
Oh, yes.
So here's the thing, guys. Not only are we truthers crazy, but we're now dangerous.
Yes.
We got
We're dangerous.
The Comet ping pong shooter. He did that because of what he saw on YouTube. He wanted to go investigate with his AR-15 and shot the place up. We're dangerous.
Yep.
We got Sidethorn confronting Pastor, what's his name, face to face at Sutherland Springs on Vice TV camera footage.
Yes.
He walks up to the car with the open door and didn't see the fucking pastor. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and Buddy was carrying Sidethorn was carrying a semi-auto pistol when he was going up threatening to hang the priest.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is how people behave.
And then we have that crazy bitch, the YouTube shooter.
Yep.
So, guys, not only are we crazy, but we are dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah,
They've done a good job.
That's the point. That's the point.
Nobody's a truther because there is no truth.
Yeah.
No, I will say there is truth.
Well, honestly, like if you talk to a lot of people on here, the truth is subjective. Everyone comes at this with different points of views. You know what I mean? And no one's going to agree on everything. And if you, with some of these people though, like Sidethorn and his fucking crew, he's got this guy King9, Village fucking idiot, like good name for a channel. And then there's this other guy, from.
What about King9?
This guy's like been stalking me on ever since I called out Sidethorn. King9 saw that and he's been like stalking me like all over YouTube.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, he's King9 is convinced that I'm Israeli intelligence operative and I work for Unit 8200 in Tel Aviv, and he's like 100% convinced of this. And he like spams me with this bullshit everywhere I go.
Just so you know, Gandalf, I also received an email. I don't remember from who, and I'm not sure if I still have the email. It might be deep in my archives. But it was around the time that we interviewed John Laban. I got an email from a guy who told me that John Laban was a Jesuit and that you were an Israeli operative.
Oh, fuck. I guarantee it's Border of Chaos.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember when that was going on, Gandalf.
Oh, fuck.
Everybody was accusing you.
Yeah, so this
the guy sent me a big long email telling me to go and listen to a podcast with you and Josh. It was like 4-hour podcast. He wouldn't tell me where in the podcast, but he said, listen carefully to this guy's accent. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to spend 4 hours analyzing Gandalf's fucking accent. If you can point me to what you're talking about, then I'll look. But no, I'm not going to spend 4 hours, super analyzing
trying to
your fucking accent.
Figure it out.
I can confirm his accent because I was born in the same province as him.
Yeah, it's just an Ontario fucking accent.
Ontario thing, man, yeah.
And
just
like,
out for a rip, are you, bud?
Hey, yeah, buddy. So
You're
the
not a
whole
good
fucking
citizen,
thing
right?
was like, oh my god, like I was like talking in a British accent, and then I was also like pretending. At the beginning, I came on to mess with Josh a bit. I was pretending I was like a wife beating former PCP addict. And then they caught on to it, and then I started talking in a British accent. So I think maybe somewhere along the way, like he thought that I was super fucking sketched or something like that because I was talking in all these different accents through the show. But yeah, since then I've had this guy and I've had Border of Chaos and King9 like stalking me, man, like over YouTube, like all over the place. They came to like Hell Wars' channel talking shit to me and Hell Wars until both of us called them out saying, hey, are you guys fucking like working together or something like that?
I'm just really surprised to hear that King9 is involved. I've been following, this guy's been around for many, many years, a decade or more, and I'm subscribed to King9.
Oh, I was too. I had followed him for years as well, ever since the old Truth Bomb days.
He's always uploading like these old military footage videos, old documentaries, and old, training videos and shit. That's usually what he uploads.
I've never heard of him myself.
I think I've seen some of his videos.
That's interesting. Listen, I have some very unfortunate news.
Uh-oh.
I may have to cut this short here really quick because my friend here needs, she's 80 and she needs some help to bed, and she knows that I can accomplish that task.
Go do your thing, Amy, and come back and
all right.
And let us wrap this up.
Okay. All right. Well, then I will be back when the task is done, and you guys just carry on. And if you vanished by the time I come back, which hopefully will not take place,
No worries.
All
No
will be
worries.
good. Okay,
Do you think?
I will be back.
All right.
All right.
So, what you were saying earlier, Gandalf, about, oh God, I forget exactly what you said, but it was about, truthers fighting with each other and King Nine and this other guy calling you out, and it's just this weird environment of everybody calling each other out. Now, there's value in calling each other out. We need to be held accountable, all of us, right? Now, there's value in calling out and producing videos saying, look, this is bullshit. These people are bullshit. This guy's a liar. Richie from Boston, he's full of shit. Sidethorn, he's a piece of shit. There's value in exposing the truth and exposing the people who claim to put out the truth, right? There's value in that. We need to know who to trust. There's value. Yes? You guys agree with that? Yes?
Look at how many people have claimed that you're a agent, shill CIA dude.
I've been called an agent. I don't know who's putting out videos. I haven't seen very many videos put out with my name on it. Besides Michael Resnicki, I haven't seen anything.
Stuff.
Say again?
Just mostly in commenting, right?
Yeah. Mostly in comments.
Videos.
Except for Michael Resnicki. That guy, he used to put out videos with my name on it and shit like that. But mostly in comments. And I have had Sidethorn actually call me an agent or, just call me various names and threaten me in various ways. I've got some screenshots on his ass. And then I had him show up in my YouTube messages under a completely different name, just threatening language that sounded just exactly like Sidethorn. And I know it was him. So there is value in calling each other out. And I welcome, hey, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Point me show me where I'm wrong. Show me the truth. Tell me, what did I say that was wrong? What did I show that was wrong? I've deleted videos because I've been wrong. Okay, so I've got a history of a couple of videos that I put up and then, wrong, pulled my videos. So we all need to be called out. So there's value in exposing the truth and the truth tellers as being truthful. So there's value in that. So here's the thing. Lately, I have been binging on religious debates. Okay, I've been listening to tons and tons of debate videos, listening to Stephen Fry and Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris and Seth Andrews and Matt Dillahunty, debating all these crazy assholes, all these religious apologists. I've been binging like crazy on this stuff for the last couple of weeks or months. And Dr. Richard Carrier is a mythicist. So there's this community regarded as the skeptical community. So if you're in the religious debate side of things, the skeptic community is regarded as those who are skeptical about the religiosity or the historicity of the religious texts. Okay, so there's this whole community of people, atheists and religious people, who argue and debate about the concept of how religious, how historically accurate is the Bible, and how consistent, and the contradictions and all of it. So there's this character known as Dr. Richard Carrier, and he's brilliant. He knows his fucking Bible better than probably anybody I've listened to so far. He is absolutely brilliant, and he's a debater. He's always doing the debate circuit. He rides the country and travels the world, engages in these heavy-duty religious debates at universities and all kind of places. And he's pretty well known. He's a PhD. His PhD is in history. And part of his PhD thesis or his postdoctorate, he invited his fans and followers he asked them, he said, okay, look, I just completed my PhD. I really don't know what direction to go. And he asked his fans and his supporters, his Patreon supporters, he said, what do you guys want me to study? What do you want me to do? And they all said religion. Go for Jesus. Go for the historicity of Jesus. So now he is famous for being a mythicist. He's a guy who's produced several books, and he's doing the debate circuit and the interview circuit on the historicity and the myth of Jesus as a person who never, ever existed. Okay? So now I've laid the groundwork for Richard Carrier. Okay. So in my travels, I stumble across a channel called Pine Creek. Now, Pine Creek is an innocuous name, but it's an atheist channel. And what this guy does is he's an interviewer like me on my show. He interviews all kinds of people and PhDs. He's had Richard Carrier on many times. I think he's had Dr. Richard Price on a couple of times. And he's had several high-level debates on his channel. Not a big channel, maybe I think 3,700 subscribers, almost 4,000. Not a huge channel, but he's good. I like him. His name is Doug, and the channel is called Pine Creek, and he does good work. I like his style. I like his approach. So I've been checking this guy out. Now, he had Dr. Richard Carrier on as a debater very recently, a couple weeks ago. And I've been hanging out in this guy's chat and engaging in their chat and made some friends. I got kicked out about 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I got kicked out of his chat, or I was timed out by one of his moderators. And it's because I was telling the truth about Dr. Richard Carrier. Now, I have been a fan of Richard Carrier for months. Loving this guy. His information is fucking solid. The guy knows his shit. However, he's a piece of shit, I've recently discovered. There's a channel called Thunderfoot. Thunderfoot is a PhD. He's a scientist. He is a debunker of all things bullshit. He did a piece on Richard Carrier exposing Dr. Richard Carrier as a complete and utter piece of shit. Now, this is personal, and I don't mean to be ad hominem. I'm not attacking the guy personally. However, we are talking about the guy's character. Richard Carrier, when he is on tour, when he is touring the lecture circuit or the debate circuit, and he's traveling the country and traveling the world, Richard Carrier is a sexual fiend. He has been banned from various conferences because of his, I'll just say, activities, extracurricular activities.
So of that community, he's like the Gregoria Toukalos, basically.
Giorgio Tsoukalos?
Yeah, that guy.
I didn't know that about him. Is Giorgio that way?
Apparently, he like hits on like mad girls, and apparently he always gets laid after a UFO or ancient aliens conference.
Yeah. So exactly. That's what Richard Carrier is all about. Now, Thunderfoot. Now, this guy is fucking solid. This guy's got almost 1 million subscribers. His channel is getting pretty big. He's brilliant. His videos are just fantastic, every one of them. So I would encourage anybody who's interested in good content to check out Thunderfoot. And when you type out Thunderfoot, the foot, O-F-O-O-T, it's F00T, Thunderfoot. The guy is just fucking brilliant. He's a PhD in chemistry, and he's an experimental physicist and experimental scientist. That's what he does for a living. And the guy is just fucking brilliant off the chart. And he also does debates. He's an atheist, and he's debated Ray Comfort, and he's debated Dr. William Lane Craig, who is not even a doctor, by the way. But anyway, Thunderfoot's brilliant. He exposed Richard Carrier for the philanthropy. Richard Carrier was married at the time. Richard Carrier claimed, and by the way, this is court documents. So this is Carrier's own testimony in court documents where he says that he was in a polyamorous relationship, which means that it's a consensual husband-wife decide that they're going to see other people on the side. If you don't know what polyamory is, that's what that is. That's when people in a committed relationship or marriage decide to fool around with other people with the consent and knowledge of their partner. Well, turns out there was no consent. His wife had no idea. He was just a philanderer. And his approach to some of these women at these conferences was so over the top as to warrant him actually being fucking banned. Banned from conferences. So I was in the chat room of Pine Creek live stream where he had Dr. Richard Carrier. And I was just telling people, hey, you know, I like this guy. He knows his shit. He knows his Bible. He knows his Bible verses, and he knows the Bible history, and he knows the subsequent texts like the Josephus and the Septuagint and the other writers of the time. The guy knows his shit. He's no dummy. However, he's kind of a piece of shit. He's not necessarily a guy who runs on ethics. He's not really the kind of guy who seems to be all that trustworthy. And that's all I was saying. And boy, did they jump on my shit, dude. They, in that whole chat room, I mean, there was one person, maybe two, who were interested, and they asked me, where are you getting the information? And where can I go? Where are you getting this? And I got timed out, and I almost got kicked out. And I wasn't talking shit. I literally wasn't being rude. I wasn't, I was just saying, hey, you guys, I like Carrier. He knows his stuff. However, you might want to know a little something. And boy, did they jump on me. They did not want to know the truth.
I find when it comes to like these communities, man, it's like they're an echo chamber, man. They can't get out of their echo chamber, and you coming in there with this information was challenging their established worldview, man.
I'm finding that even with small channels too.
Oh yeah, like it's like how Bartley Gerba and now Urban Disciples like hate each other now. It's ridiculous, man. Like over like small little thing, like just ridiculous, man.
Difference between them two guys is one guy understands and the other one doesn't about religion.
Elaborate, Blue.
Well, Bartley is Christian, right? But he doesn't really understand what his own Bible.
And Urban Disciples?
He gets it, I think. Now, as far as what they're fighting about, I have paid no attention to it.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I'm not into these childish fights. It's not worth anybody's time.
See, is that not ridiculous, man? Like small like YouTube channels are like fighting with each other about like absolute nothing, it seems.
Well, in some cases it might seem like nothing. Now recently I posted a couple of videos. I mirrored a Seth Andrews video, and I mirrored a Sam Harris video that are opposed. Both of them are atheists, and both of them, the lectures that I mirrored, are anti-theist type videos. Now, Chuck P., who has been a supporter of my channel and show for a long time, and I've engaged Chuck a lot, and he's part of our little, quote, truth community. Chuck P. took strong issue, and him and I have had long conversations in comments, not just on my channel, but also recently on ET's channel. That's Extreme Truther. Chuck P. and I have engaged heavily in comments about religion. And isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how, and trust me, I've done months of deep, hard research and years of soft research on the subject. Isn't it funny how atheists seem to know the Bible better than theists?
No, it's not surprising. There's a reason for that though too. Why? It's because you're believing before you're studying. Once you study, you stop believing because you understand what it's telling you.
Yep.
That's exactly right.
That's the difference.
I've even heard it said, and I don't remember who said it, but
And I'm not an atheist.
I've heard somebody say that the best way to make an atheist is to have somebody just read the Bible.
Yeah.
If you want to turn a theist into an atheist, just have them actually read the Bible. Actually read it.
Yep.
Once you understand
By
it,
the
it's
way,
not
I'm
hard to see
back.
what it's trying to tell you. And no, the world is not coming to an end.
I
Nobody's coming to
seriously
save you.
doubt. That is my biggest thing is that yes, if we are to be saved, we must do it ourselves, and that's what my work is all about. Seriously.
Yeah. We can only say what we know, right?
Oh, I just checked the chat, and Adelaide said Fullerton, and I assume she means the Fullerton Informer, the guy in California who's buddy and partnered up with Grindall 61. If that's who you mean, Fullerton, the Fullerton Informer. Not only is that guy extremely religious, but guess what? He's a full-blown flat earther, guys.
No. Well, I'm finding that a lot of people I never suspected are flat earthers now. Like it seems like they're crawling out of the woodwork, man.
Well, we got a flat earther on our panel. Blublood's for flat earth.
Oh,
Well, yeah, but I don't consider myself a flat earther. I believe always thought that water always laid level and it was a plane, and you know, I know that the sun is within our atmosphere. It's not in outer space, so that to me just throws out the ball theory. I don't know the shape of the Earth. Call it flat with hills on it or plane with hills on it. I don't know.
Why do you think
we're not spinning, and I'm not walking on the side of a ball? I can tell you that.
Why do you think the sun is in our atmosphere?
It's electrically there.
It's electrically there.
It's there by sound, resonance, vibration, or what have you, but it's not no nuclear ball of gas 93 million miles away. It's 3 to 9 miles.
You know that how? You know that how?
Because I've been sun gazing for 2 years. I can see that. I can see it go through the clouds with my bare eyes. I don't need a camera. Once you start sun gazing, you'll see it for yourself.
You see it.
Besides that, there's been a million shots of the sun in the clouds.
Wait, hang on.
That's what,
Hang on.
Sword through the clouds?
Yeah, just hang on. Let me just focus on that. You see it go through the clouds.
From time to time, yes, depending on the cloud height.
And you see probably the moon also go through the clouds.
Yeah, and you see right through the moon, so it's obviously not a rock, and it's very close.
Now, you do realize what clouds are made of, right?
Yeah, water vapor.
That's right. And they're not thick.
Mm-hmm.
They're translucent.
Yeah,
you realize that, right?
Like a gas, like a gas you can see, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, and I realize, yes, that they don't necessarily burn up every cloud, but then again, no, without the sun around, you can watch clouds form and disappear, so really.
So when you say you see sun and or moon go through the clouds,
yeah,
are you sure that you're seeing what you think you're seeing?
I get where you're going, but either way, I can see that it is not in outer space through some steel dome you would have to have this vacuum of space. That in itself.
Why would we have to have a steel dome?
Well, how do you have a vacuum go up against air? It's impossible.
No, it's not impossible.
Then why do we have vacuum chambers made out of steel? We don't make vacuum chambers out of balloons.
Okay. Because
they've done every possible test on Earth in vacuum chambers, and nothing will ignite and stay lit. So how do you?
Okay. Well, first of all,
that can't work.
First of all, this is where the disconnect begins, I think, with flat Earth ideology. First of all, space is not a vacuum. Space is zero.
Why does NASA always say it's in the vacuum of space?
Because it's easier to understand.
Yes.
It's not an actual vacuum.
It's a plenum, actually. It's
it's
filled with
zero.
energy.
The space is zero. There's zero pressure in space. Zero.
But they also say it's minus 200, right? All the time. And if
now, hang on. We can talk about temperature in a moment, but let's stay on this for a minute before we get into too many tangents. Because this happens all the time, especially with flat Earth conversations, that the conversation rails and flies off into a million conversations before any questions get answered. So let's stay focused for a second. First and foremost, space is not a vacuum. It is zero pressure. Now, if we go with the current model of the globe Earth with the gravity, and if we go with that and we understand that the gravity holds our atmosphere, and if you understand that we have 20 miles of atmosphere, if you look straight up over your head, no matter where you are, there's 20 miles of atmosphere, 20 miles thick of air. And the air has weight, it has density, it has mass. 20 miles of atmosphere thick.
But yet NASA has claimed to have flown planes at 120,000 feet, which is higher than 20 miles.
120,000 feet divided by 5,260 feet per mile. 120,000. That's 200 miles. Okay.
Exactly.
So what's your point?
NASA's numbers are always bullshit.
Wait. What's your point?
Well, it's even flat earthers will, like all these big flat earth show channels. So, oh, the sun is 3,000 miles up in the sky. I don't think so. I think it's 3 to 9 miles. That magic number 9, or maybe the magic number 8.
3 to 9 miles high?
Yeah, on average.
You realize that airplanes fly higher than that.
I don't think they're flying at 37 to 45,000 feet either. Not when you look. I remember I've studied for my
Have you ever
pilot's
been in an airplane?
I've flown Cessnas. I've done my pilot's license.
I'm not talking about Cessna.
And at 5,000 feet,
Cessna
you're
doesn't
generally
go that high. A Cessna will never go as high as an A380.
No, I didn't say
True.
that. But I said in a Cessna, you generally fly around at between 3,500 feet just below the clouds or 5,500 feet just above them.
Okay, so you're saying you're flown just above or just below the clouds. You've actually flown airplanes just above and just below the clouds, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times they're not even that high. They're only 1,200 feet.
But you've done that.
Yeah.
And then the same breath, you're going to tell me that the sun moves through the clouds.
Depending on where you are.
No. You're going to tell me in the same breath that you have flown in airplanes above and below the cloud level.
Yeah.
And
if I say the sun is on average of 3 to 9 miles, that's 45,000 feet.
So you've seen with your own eyes the cloud layer where it stops, and then there's no clouds above.
Yeah.
And you've seen with your own eyes the cloud layer where there's no clouds below. You've seen that cloud layer with your own eyes. Yeah?
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me in the same breath that the sun moves through the clouds.
Can I ask a question? When you were above the clouds, did the sun look a lot bigger?
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were above the clouds, where the fuck was the sun?
I think it probably looked about the same size as it looked when you were down below.
It wasn't in the cloud I was above. It was off in the distance.
Right.
But it's like when you like the sun goes over my house here at this time of year. Just this is an example of the sun follows you no matter where you go, and the sun sets behind my house, goes over my house in an arc, and sets to the northeast. Now I can walk up the street and that sun is right with me. It isn't like I'm in my living room right now, looking where the sun is setting right now. But if I walk up the street a mile, it's in the same perspective. If I drive 500 miles, it's setting in the same perspective 500 miles from here, north. So it's not going on this perfect elliptical plane around a ball. It can't be.
Yeah, it is. Your understanding of perspective is just not as solid as you think it is. You're just not familiar with perspective the way you think you are.
Well, it's
I
not
think-
it's
I
not
think
crossing
that's
my
correct.
city from east to west. I can tell you that. It's coming from southeast and going northwest.
Well, that's because you live in Canada, bro.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the spinning ball, it should be going straight across Canada, directly east-west pattern. But it's not. It's going from southeast. My house faces directly
Yes, it
west.
goes southeast because it doesn't go over straight over Canada. It never does.
Well, I'm just
Look,
telling you, in my
hey.
city in Canada, never mind the rest of Canada, it's coming from the southeast and setting in the northwest.
You're familiar with the
It should be
Tropic of
going
Cancer and
straight across my house from east to west, but it isn't.
You're familiar with the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn.
Yeah.
You do realize that the Tropic of Cancer is no farther north. In fact, I've got a globe right in front of me.
According to that Tropic Cancer,
I've got one of those.
I should see the
old-
sun to the south all the time, but I don't. It sets.
I've got
It's
this
setting
really
way
cool
northwest.
old world globe. And the Tropic of Cancer. Do you know where the Tropic of Cancer falls? Which is the northern. We have the equator, and below the equator is the
beyond,
Tropic of Capricorn.
Not even
And above
crossing
the equator,
Canada.
we have the Tropic of Cancer. Do you know where the Tropic of Cancer falls on the latitude line? Do you know where that goes?
It doesn't even go through Canada. It
You're
goes
damn
through
right it doesn't. That's why you don't see it
Southern
go over
US.
Canada. It's always in the southwest.
But then how can it be setting northwest of my house right now? It should be way south of me then, but it's not. So I think the whole thing is bullshit.
Because
that whole globe map.
because the planet is tilted. Would that
Because
explain?
Doesn't know
Why
because it
it's
still
going
should go from just from
northwest,
east to west, not southeast
northwest.
to northwest, where I'm at. I can document it for you and show
Now,
you exactly where it rises.
You
and
are
sets.
familiar.
I shouldn't even see it. It should be way south of me all the time,
You are familiar with that the Earth has a tilt of 23.5 degrees.
according to ball theory from
Yes,
500 years ago.
yes. According to ball theory, it's.
How come none of the ancient civilization Egyptians, none of them had ball theories?
You want to bet?
Wow. There
You
might have been
want
one.
to bet?
Show me where I'm wrong. What do you have to show me that I'm wrong? That the ancients didn't have the ball theory?
But they
Who-
didn't have
which
they didn't
ones?
have no land masses on it. They couldn't have.
What? Say again?
Did they have the whole land mass that we have now? That's what they showed.
They who?
Ancient civilizations.
Did they have the whole landmass? Well, which ancient civilizations are we talking about? Because
They
some
go
of them
back to the
actually had
Sumerian
land
tradition.
masses that show Antarctica with a land mass that we didn't even know existed until we had satellite radar,
Yep.
where we
Very
could look
true.
through the ice sheet and see where the land was. They had the land masses on their maps. So yeah,
Yep.
they
Wow.
did.
You know, we could argue
Yes,
this
they
back and
did.
forth, black is white all day long.
Well, it's not an argument. I mean, you either understand
I'm just,
physics and perspective or you don't. So
Well,
let
I
me ask real
don't feel
quick.
that
Look,
that
I don't
way.
want to get into a 2-hour tangent on flat Earth, but let me ask you a
No.
question real quick. Are you of the flat Earth variety that thinks that gravity is buoyancy? Are you on that bandwagon?
no, because I don't know. To me, gravity is just an unproven theory. Where's the
Well,
proof of gravity?
Okay.
What's unproven is the way it works.
Right. That's the only
That's
thing.
one of
So
the
it's a
things
name for a
people-
theory that you can't prove.
No,
Like,
No.
like
no,
many
no.
other
It's an
theories.
unseen force.
Gravity can be proven when you hold your hand out with a pencil in it and let go.
Gravity
Whoa,
can be
it
proven when you
falls.
step on a scale. We can weigh mass. We have measurement
Yep.
tools. We can measure that there's an unseen force. How that force works is yet to be explained fully.
Yep.
I agree. They don't have a full explanation on how it works.
I don't think they have
But
an
don't try to-
explanation
Okay.
close, but yeah.
Can I go off on a tangent for just 1 second, you guys?
Hold your thought, Gandalf. Let me throw this out there and you can have it. For those who think that gravity is density and gravity is nothing more than heavy things fall and light things float, I would like for you to please explain to me, how the fuck do we have tides?
I also would like to ask, just really
I'm guessing
quick,
it's a pumping action in the earth.
I also have to ask, what do you think it is that defines the direction things go in?
Okay, the tides go in and out. We have a high tide and a low tide. Everybody on Earth from the beginning of time till today has observed when the sun goes over your head, the tide goes in. And when the moon goes over your head, the tide goes in. And sometimes the sun and the moon work together to make what we call a high tide. And simultaneously, on the other side of the fucking ocean,
The planet.
the low tide. No, the other side of the ocean. So if you're in
Okay.
America on the East Coast in the Atlantic, you're going to get a high tide, while in Europe they experience a low tide at that exact moment. And it's because the sun and the moon tug on the tides.
But that doesn't mean that they have to be in outer space millions or hundreds of thousands of miles away either.
No, but it does show that the sun and the moon have gravity and they're pulling on our fucking tides.
They have something, call it whatever you want.
And if they're pulling on our tides, what the hell's holding them up there if they're only 300
could
miles?
be an electrical pull because the oceans are full of salt, and salt is a great conductor of electricity. But then again, there's places in the world that have 6-hour tides. How do you explain that? And places that rise 6 or 8 feet, and places that's upwards of
Landscape,
30.
bro. That's how you explain it. It's called landscape. Sometimes there's a strong gradient, and sometimes the gradient is very slight. And it takes a long time for the water to get all the way in and all the way out.
I'm getting curious.
I don't know where this argument's going. To me, that does not prove that the moon is a rock in space and the sun is 93 million miles away and a ball of gas. It doesn't prove that to me.
I'm curious what
To me, I stare at the sun every day. It looks to me like an electrical freaking light.
Blue, you know I love you. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, we do love you. I'm curious about what Gandalf has to say.
Oh, believe me, I believed all the ball stuff all my life, and I had to really start taking a second look at it.
Well, you need to take a third look, my friend. You know I love you. You know I love you. But I got to remind everyone that you're the guy who said to me on my other show, I don't know, a year ago, you're the guy who said that rivers flow uphill when they go north and they go downhill when they go south. You're that guy.
According to the ball, they'd have to, yeah.
No.
No. That's according to landscape.
Your argument doesn't.
According to landscape, my friend. It has nothing to do with north and south. Gravity doesn't work that way.
Yes.
It's landscape.
It does not work
gradient.
that way.
It's gradient. It's landscape. End of story. North does not mean uphill, and south does not mean downhill. That's not how gravity works.
What about the ones that run for thousands of miles north?
I don't care. Landscape is landscape. There's either higher elevations and lower elevations, or there's not.
But even if
when there's not, we call it a lake.
Gradient, you'd still have to climb uphill at some point.
No. Hey, you know what? There are places on this earth where you can take your car and park your car and put it in neutral, and your car will roll uphill. Did you know that? Have you ever heard of these places? There are a couple of locations.
Yeah, we got supposedly places like that.
Yeah, you've heard of those locations?
I don't.
Well, guess what, bro? That's a fucking optical illusion.
I know.
And the gradient is actually downhill. It looks like it's uphill, but it's not. And that's why your car rolls. And that's why rivers flow. Because it may or may not look to you, with your perception, it may not look like it's going uphill or downhill. But guess what? The water will tell you where downhill is every time.
Yep. It sure will. Anyway, Gandalf.
Anyway,
are you still with us?
Johnny Supertramp said, "Please explain why my ass looks bigger when he's south of the equator."
Okay. I'm gonna tell you guys what just went down. All right. So I'm listening on my phone outside to you guys talk about the flat Earth and all this, right? And welcome to Canada, right? I'm pretty sure a big ass, or maybe 2 or 3 big ass fucking timber wolves were circling me, maybe 2 or 3 feet away from me.
Wow.
Wait, say that again? Wait. Say that again.
So I heard like footsteps, like slowly pacing, like, and I thought it was maybe the neighbor, like I thought it was one of our dogs, but our dogs are all inside, and I'm like, oh shit, and I fucking like screamed. There were 3. I was just like, holy shit, and they fucking ran, like they jumped, like it scared the fucking hell out of them as bad as it scared me. There were maybe 2 or 3 timber wolves, maybe like 2 feet away from me.
Hey, Aaron, I'll leave the flat Earth ball debate at this. Okay. When NASA, for the first time since '58 or whatever they sent their first rocket up, can finally point their fucking camera forward and show us breaking into space for the first time ever, then maybe I'll believe that they're going there.
Oh, don't even play that. Don't even play that
Well,
game.
because you know that the clipping and CGI and shit that they do is...
Don't even play me with that game, because you know damn good and well that when they do, you and all the other flat earthers are going to say, oh, it's CGI. It's not real.
Well, I'm just saying, why didn't they ever do it for fucking 50 or 60 years? There was a reason why they never.
I have a theory on that. My theory is that ET put a barrier here just above low Earth orbit so that we can get to low Earth orbit and put up things like satellites and space stations and whatnot.
Then we should be taking thousands of pictures of all these satellites floating around above our heads. Where's these pictures of all these satellites?
You've got to understand, you take 1,000 of something and scatter them about this planet, that each one will be an enormous number of miles away from the next one.
If we've got 40,000 satellites up there, why do we need all these land towers all over the place, man? This Earth is becoming littered with cell towers. What do we need all these satellites for if we got all these cell towers? Or vice versa?
What do we need satellites for? Oh, I don't know. TV, radio, military.
Well, do you ever notice the satellite dish on your house isn't pointing at... You would lose that. You'd lose that satellite all the time, wouldn't you?
So when I take my sat phone and I go out in the middle of the fucking wilderness where there's no goddamn towers anywhere to be found for hundreds of miles, and I use my sat phone to make a phone call, which I've done, how do you explain that?
That's troposcatter.
Troposcatters. You talking
that
about the
phone has got a bigger antennas putting out a stronger signal, and it's bouncing the signal out of off the sky and picking up what the closest tower it can find.
And what science do you have to back that up?
Fuck, the U.S. military was doing that from the beginning. They've admitted it.
Okay, I'm going to make a note of troposcatter. I'm going to look that up. But I would like for you to try to explain to me how a small cell phone can manage troposcatter.
I look at my neighbor's. She's got a satellite dish on the side of the house here, and it's pointed between two trees.
I'm not talking about a dish. I'm talking about a cell phone, a sat phone.
Yeah, it would be troposcatter. That's what the U.S. military was doing 50, 60 years ago. They were bouncing signals off probably the dome or just a barrier up there of something.
Bro, except for one problem with that. There's a problem.
What?
It's called geolocation. You need 3 locations. You need either 3 towers or you need 3 satellites to get a geolocation.
That's not a problem.
Oh, troposcatter works with geolocation?
So then tell me this.
You're telling me troposcatter works with
that sat phone you're hooked, that sat phone.
My exact position within 3 meters with troposcatter?
So that's those satellites that you're bouncing off. What happens when they've went around the other side of the ball? How are you getting your signal? Is there just like a multitude of them that link to that?
Yeah, there is a multitude that do link. Yes. It's called line of sight.
How come all these Earth telescopes nobody's ever shown us pictures of satellites floating around? We've only just got these CGI pictures.
Do.
Oh,
they do.
No.
I can tell you right now that I have on my phone and my computer, I've got Stellarium on my computer, which tracks satellites. And when my computer and my cell phone tells me, my Google Sky app on my phone says, here comes SBXYZ blah, blah, blah satellite, and I look in the fucking sky, you can see that motherfucker track across the sky, just like they do the ISS. When they say it's coming along, here it comes, you look up, and there it is.
So then you'd lose your signal within 12 hours then, wouldn't you?
No. It's called line of sight. That's why we have thousands of satellites, so they can communicate around the world.
Wow. Okay. That's what they say.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. it seems to make more sense than flat Earth, because so far flat Earth hasn't made any predictions, but Ball Earth makes millions of predictions.
It's funny though, if you look at all the space agencies around the world, just Canada alone, they launch 200 balloons a month. What are they launching all these balloons for if we got all these satellites in space?
Because they're tracking weather patterns.
What do they need balloons for if the satellites are up there doing the same thing?
Because the
Right?
satellites
It's
can't
always
see the
satellite.
wind.
It's always satellite weather, satellite radar. What do they need all these balloons for?
The satellites can see the water vapor, but they can't see the actual wind. That's why.
Crazy, because they always show
Because
us
they're
all
tracking
these shows on the satellite imagery of the Earth, and they can show the wind and the water swirling and all.
yeah, they're tracking the trade winds, and they're tracking the what's the northern main? I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a main air traffic.
The jet stream.
Thank you, the jet stream. They're measuring and monitoring the jet stream and the trade winds. That's why.
Well, yeah, I can see that for the balloons. Yeah.
Roof,
Not
how much
a lot of
is SpaceX paying you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Elon, I'm in Elon Musk's back pocket.
I
Okay.
guess there should be lots of satellites taking picture of that car flying around, eh?
I'm pretty sure that car is fake.
Yeah.
That looks fake as fuck.
No, honestly, we're not going to agree on everything. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I'm a big Bigfoot believer.
I do believe water finds its level, though.
Yeah, like
find
we're
its
not
curve.
gonna agree on everything. Like I believe in Bigfoot, man, and like
Just
I
don't
know
tell me
most
the water
90%
doesn't bend.
we don't agree with
Just
that.
don't tell me the water doesn't curve. That's sorry.
I'm just
sorry.
saying, in a lake, every lake you've been on, Aaron's been flat as fuck, and you know it.
Oh, yeah, but every lake. Hey, look. Let's be honest, Blue. When you're at the ocean and you're staring out at the vastness of the ocean, from left to right, the biggest piece of horizon that you can possibly see with your naked eye
Probably 100 miles.
is maybe 100 miles.
Okay, so there's
Now,
100
what
miles
is the
curvature.
percentage of 100 miles compared to the diameter 25,000 mile Earth? What's that percentage? 100 miles. That
I
is.
know you're doing this percentage thing. You're making the Earth seem like it's just way huger than what they always show us.
It
But
is.
the way the ball Earth math doesn't add up on the 100 miles either. So
No,
what
no,
is
no,
there a
no,
math that does?
hold on.
There's no
Just
math
pause.
that works.
No, just pause for a second.
I
When
know.
you're at the
We
ocean-
went through this before on you doing this percentage thing. But I'm just saying, where is the math that supports that?
No. Well, where's the map? There's millions of maps.
No math. There's no math that supports.
I'm talking to you about math. This is where
No,
percentages.
I know, but nobody else does.
This is where percentages come in. Let's talk about math. If
So
you
it
can
has to be
see
way
100
bigger than what they
if
say
you
it
can
is.
see 100 miles of and you're having a hard time seeing the curve, you look at the ocean horizon, it looks flat, and you can see 100 miles of ocean. What is the percentage? That's math. Let's talk about math.
So what you're saying
25,000
is
miles
that
divided by 100.
all water on Earth is curved in the oceans. All the ocean water is actually curved.
So let's talk about the math.
Flat at all.
If you can only see 100 miles from left to right, the whole horizon, that's less than 0.001% of the total curve. So what you're saying is that because you can't see 1/10 of 1% of curvature of degree of arc, you can't detect that with your human eye. 1/10 of 1 degree, you can't detect it with your human eye. You're going to tell me that you're convinced it's flat because you can't perceive 1/10 of 1 degree of arc over 100
Okay, but
miles.
either way, the ball Earth math does not support what you're saying.
It absolutely supports everything I'm saying.
The 8-inch square per mile thing.
It absolutely does.
You're talking
Well,
hundreds
hold on.
and hundreds
That-
and hundreds of feet.
That 8 inches.
Yeah, the 8-inch
per
square.
mile squared.
Yeah.
It's 8 inches per mile squared. And yeah, they have taken.
That is your curvature.
You're breaking up, Amy. Amy, if you're talking, I can't even hear you at all. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Amy.
I can't hear it either.
Well, look, man, I've seen the videos where people take the P90 or P90 900 and they zoom in on a ship at the distance and they can see the ship. But you know what they can't see? They can't see the hull. And every single ship, every one of them, has a line painted above the water line. Every ship has a different color paint job. Right above the water, you can see it. And the reason they do that is because if the ship takes on water and that water line gets down to the water level, then they know that they're fucking too low, they're too heavy, or they're taking on water. They got a problem. That's why. Every major ship, every large ocean liner, every ocean barge, every cargo ship has a multicolored hull, and they have a line painted just above the water line.
Yeah, I know.
And when you zoom in with your P90 or your P900, what you cannot see is that fucking line. You can't see the bottom of the hull.
And the waves look like they're 3 feet.
And all the videos that show Seattle from across the lake do not show the bottom of the fucking pier or the tower. I've seen comparisons where people debunk that shit and say, look, here's the actual picture of this, and then they shrink it down so that it's all the same size. And then the fucking flat earth video, what you don't see is the bottom half of that whole entire skyline. It's gone. It's not there. No matter how zoomed in you are, it's not there.
Yeah, I've seen all the videos. Sometimes it looks like the waves are 3 or 4 feet by the ship, but where the guy's filming, there no waves at all, hardly.
Yeah, so ships do in fact disappear over the horizon from the bottom up. That's a fact. The sun does not increase its size 3 fucking times according to the laws of perspective when it goes over the horizon and goes over high noon and then sets. If the sun is circling over my head, then you should expect to see the sun expand in size by 3 fucking times. It should be 3 times the size when at high noon than it is at sunset and sunrise. It's not what we see, Blue. It's not what we see. That's perspective. You can't get away from mathematics, bro. You can't get away from trigonometry. You can't get away from perspective. That's how perspective works. When something is far and it comes close, it gets bigger. We don't see that.
Well, I definitely see the sun get smaller as it goes away.
No, you don't. Get a fucking filter. Get a camera with a good filter so that you're not looking through the glare of the atmosphere or the cloud cover or the haze of the atmosphere. Get a fucking solar filter and prove it to me with footage. And if you don't believe me, go on Wolfie 6120 channel. I think that's the number. Wolfie 62 something. Go on Wolfie's channel. This is a guy with professional equipment. He's a goddamn pilot, and he's a flat earth debunker, and he's got a pile of videos with, go on Red's Rhetoric. He's got the same filter and the same cameras. Go look at people with real equipment watching the sun and time lapse. It does not shrink.
Okay, you got me there. It doesn't.
All right, we're done. We're done with flat Earth.
It appears.
I win. Hey, I win.
You win. It's a nuclear ball out in outer space.
Hey, I don't know.
I don't think it is.
A nuclear ball, fusion, fission. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I'm not there with my thermometer.
I don't think it's out in outer space. I think it's right here in our atmosphere somewhere. At some height. Not very high up either. That's the way I see it. That's what my eyes tell me. And the moon, it's see-through half the time. So how does that work if it's a rock?
Amy said it's Wolfie 6020. Thank you, Amy. Sandra asked, answer me a question. Anybody have satellites light? What do you mean, Sandra? Do they have their own lights? Or what's the question specifically? You might want to
Now, when it comes to flat earthers, what's
Yeah,
your
Johnny,
on,
NASA lies their asses off. The NASA are a bunch of fucking liars. Sorry, Gandalf, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just wondering, what's the flat earthers' opinion on UFOs?
How about meteors? How do meteors get through the firmament? And by the way, do you know where the firmament comes from? Do you know where we get that terminology?
Where is that from?
The firmament refers to the stars because they're fixed.
I'm back.
The stars are fixed. They're firm in their place. And if you're in the desert where you can see, 360 degrees all the way around you, or if you're on the ocean, if you're on a boat and you can see 360-degree horizon, then it looks like you have a dome over your head. And it's the stars. They rise and they fall. The sun and the moon, the stars, the planets, they rise and they fall. It looks like a dome. And they're firm. They're fixed in their position. It's the firmament. And in ancient times, they didn't know where rain came from. All they knew was it fucking rained. And they thought, wow, where's this water coming from? It's falling from the fucking sky. It must be above the firmament. Wrong. Wrong again, ancient ones.
Can you
So
hear me now?
Do you think we're hurtling through
Yeah,
space?
you're back, Amy.
Yes, Blue, I do.
But the stars have never changed in recorded history of mankind.
Again, my friend, you need to take a class on perspective.
And the
Well,
stars have.
That's not about
changed.
perspective. That's about what I was saying.
No,
Recorded
it's
history.
it has everything to
stars.
do with perspective. When the stars are hundreds of millions or billions of light years away, then yeah, it has to do with perspective. Because when you're driving down the road in your car, the trees pass very fast, but the
Do you
mountains
really
don't
think we've
move
got a
hardly at
telescope?
all, do they?
Do you think we've got telescopes that can zoom into something that's 100 million billion miles away or whatever?
Let me
Really?
answer my question. When you're driving in your car, the trees pass by very fast, but the mountains don't hardly move, do they?
True.
That's perspective.
Can,
And that's
can
only
I,
a couple of miles, my friend.
Can-
How about a couple of 100,000 or 100 million or billion, or how about 100
Can-
billion
hold-
light years?
can I help put something into perspective?
Take it, Amy. It's
You
yours.
know, people are always asking how come Polaris doesn't seem to move. And if you take the scale, you got to bring it down to scale. Stand someplace and look at a mountaintop that's 100 miles away. All right? That is the distance between the Earth and Polaris. Now, shift your position 4 inches right or left. Now, does that mountaintop appear to move? That shifting of 4 inches is the circumference of our orbit around the sun, from the summer to the winter. That line, that's the distance. So even though we're going around the sun, it's like standing and looking at a mountaintop 100 miles away and moving 4 inches. And that'll give you what kind of perspective you're looking at when you're looking up at Polaris. I'm done. Lesson over.
E.T. is in our chat, and he said they have changed. They change over eons, and he's 100% correct.
Yes, and there are records that show the stars shifted.
That's correct. Not only have the stars shifted due to our motion through space, but they have shifted because of the Earth has changed its angular reference to the sun. We've not always been 23.5 degrees tilt. That has changed as well over time.
Yep.
So, yes, the stars patterns change.
But the Big and Small Dipper have always circular around. They have never changed.
Well, you've also got to understand something about the fact that most of the stars that we can see are in this arm of the galaxy. They are all, pardon me, they are all moving along pretty much at the same speed we are, with small,
Correct.
minor differences.
That's correct.
So-
we're mostly moving
you're-
all in the same direction at the same speed, mostly.
Yep, pretty much. But there are, over time, the minor differences add up and you will see shifting. But it's a long, long time. A very long time. Well over one human's lifetime before going it. It was there, now it's here. So yeah,
Johnny, you're a smart ass, Johnny. We love you. He has to pee. Johnny has to pee, but he doesn't want to miss any flat Earth facts.
Nice dig, Johnny. You jerk.
Anyway, guys, this is getting quite long, and it technically this is my bedtime.
Yeah, we're well over time, Amy.
And maybe we should call this.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Breaking.
You're breaking up, honey.
Yes. Pretend we're. Yeah. And you're breaking for me.
Okay.
Anyway.
Amy.
Pretend the theme song. Thump, thump, thumpity, thump.
Yeah, what happened to that theme song?
Oh, well, I can't actually. It's the platform, bro. It's the platform.
Yeah.
We had Bart was able. Our little theme song, Bart was able to get it going because he's on a Mac, and I don't know if that has a difference or why, but
no, it had to do with the fact that he had good speakers and could play the sound.
Yeah, so I mean, we can do the outro, but I think the audio has a problem coming through, and it has to do with the platform, or it has to do with our or whatever. But there it is, guys.
Love always.
Love always, and final thoughts, everybody.
Don't trust water levels; they're not accurate.
We're not all going to agree on everything.
No, that's true.
And pick up.
We all have our own perspective.
And let's solve for the psychopaths in control. See my playlist on my channels, Amaterasu Solar and Amaterasu Solar again.
And make sure to pick up your fucking trash.
Oh, and just one quick thing. One of my latest videos is on electrogravitics and what I know about it. Do have a look. Good night.
Gandalf, Blublood, thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Oh, that's great.
What happened, Mutt?
Oh, we lost. We lost him. Well, I tell you what, guys, we shall say goodnight here, and I'm going to stop the broadcast. And love to everybody, and let's get it done.
All right, peace, everyone.